Meet Elise, a 33-year-old corporate professional who's been happily married to Luke for 2 years. Luke, 3 years her senior, works at a sister company to hers. Since the beginning, they've been residing with his parents in a 2-family home arrangement. Luke, the younger of 2 brothers, has an elder sibling named Cody, who's 6 years his senior. Before Elise and Luke tied the knot, it seemed like Cody and his parents were the primary occupants of the household. However, Cody's wife, Krist, known for her talkative nature and competitive spirit, often found herself at odds with her equally strong-willed mother-in-law. Eventually, Cody and his father had enough of the family disputes and decided to move out. Despite living alone since he started working, Luke and Elise never seriously considered the idea of residing separately from his parents. So, when Luke's mom suddenly declared that they would be moving in after marriage, it caught both Elise and Luke off guard. Elise had assumed they would continue living in her current apartment until they decided to start a family, as it was convenient for her commute. However, it seemed that living together was inevitable in their family's eyes. Although the idea initially unsettled them, they realized that the commute wouldn't differ much whether they stayed at Luke's apartment or his parents' house. Besides, the ancestral home, crafted by Luke's grandfather, boasted both a main house and a guest house, promising ample privacy. Reluctantly, they agreed to move in. However, Elise soon found herself regretting the decision. Luke's mother, in her mid-60s, began complaining about back pain and dizziness, leaving all household chores from cleaning to laundry and shopping squarely on Elise's shoulders. As a full-time worker, even sharing chores with Luke barely managed to keep our lives and his parents' lives in order. Then, an unexpected financial burden hit us. Firstly, the guest house needed serious renovations. Initially appearing livable from the outside, stepping in revealed a dire need for more than just patch jobs. The bathroom, kitchen, roof, floors, everything showed significant wear and tear. Yet it was our space, and naturally, we committed to paying for the renovations. What caught us off guard was when my mother-in-law demanded the same renovations for the main house upon seeing the newly refurbished guest house. It seemed inconceivable to fix up our space and leave them in a rundown place. However, we couldn't afford to do everything all at once. Why is Elise working then? To support us, her in-laws? My mother-in-law questioned. Exactly, Luke, we blessed you with marriage. You should serve us in return. So not only did they want the house renovated, but they also desired new high-end furniture and appliances, claiming the newly renovated rooms deserved the best. Additionally, they made us pay for every little thing, from groceries to household items. Thanks to this situation, Luke and I struggled to save even a tiny bit of money every month. Just as we approached the 3rd year, my mother-in-law and the Cody couple suddenly dropped the bomb. We're moving in, you have to move out. Christy explained that Cody got laid off, although he was actually spared but chose to leave to save a colleague with kids. Despite having 1-year-old twins himself, he was deemed more responsible due to his prestigious university background. Facing this ultimatum, Luke and I sat down with my in-laws, pleading our case for hours until we finally conceded. Fine, we'll move out this week. It was clear that we had no other choice. We've learned plenty about family from you, mother-in-law and father-in-law. It's time to put that wisdom into practice, right, Luke? I teased, glancing at my husband. Ha, finally getting it, are you? Luke chuckled. Yeah, just like Elise said, we're happy to do it. Great, case closed, he affirmed. With that, Luke and I turned our backs on our chuckling in-laws and headed for the guest house. 2 weeks later, we had movers arranged and relocated with no time to spare. Opting for the full packing service due to time constraints, we timed our move during my in-laws' regular lunch at karaoke with friends to avoid any complaints about the items we were taking. We wrapped up all the formalities in 3 days, utilizing our paid leaves and starting our new life. However, one day, I received a call from the front desk at work, informing me that someone claiming to be family was there to see me. I had a feeling she'd show up soon, but I didn't expect her to barge in on me instead of Luke. Quickly texting Luke about the situation, I braced myself for the inconvenience. Luke's response came swiftly, suggesting that we ask Maya to step out for a meeting to avoid causing trouble at the office. Passing the message to the front desk, we managed to make our in-laws leave as agreed. That night, as Luke and I pulled into the parking lot of our in-laws' compound, they, along with Cody and his spouse, rushed out of the main house and guest house to greet us. Upon closer inspection, I noticed that both my in-laws had a baby strapped to their backs, probably Cody's twins. As I locked the car, Cody's voice boomed angrily. "Hey, how dare you show up here in my parents' cars?" Luke remained composed, retorting, "Your parents' cars? Which ones are those?" This seemed to infuriate Cody even more. "The cars you both drove up in, obviously," he exclaimed. "Well, Cody, both these cars were purchased by us. Our names are even on the registration certificates. Would you like to see?" Luke interjected, stepping in. "I've been annoyed by how our parents drive these cars as if they own them. We let it slide because we live together, but now there's no need to lend them out, right?" I added, feeling a surge of irritation. "Don't forget Dad-in-law has that old minivan he used for work," Chrissy chimed in, glaring at us. "Who cares about that old car?" spat Cody. "But it's perfect for twins, isn't it? You can fit 2 car seats," I retorted, attempting to reason. Our back and forth made our in-laws uncomfortable. After seeing Cody receive a talking to about the cars, they jumped in. "What about the furniture and the appliances? Taking them while we're away? That's stealing, not just from the main house but also from the guest house," Cody argued. "Yes, Cody and I can't live without those," Chrissy added. "Why would we have to leave them? Look, I get what you're saying. We're using the guest house anyway. But there's no reason to dip into the main house too," Luke reasoned. "Why isn't that stuff we all pitched in for?" I asked, trying to understand their logic. "Such arrogance. Even so, once you gave it, it's ours," father-in-law fired back. "Whoa, hold on. We never gave you anything. We just lent it. There's no memory of us ever saying we're giving it to you, and there's no transfer of ownership on paper," Luke countered, shocking both our in-laws. "We were living together, so we lent stuff as a courtesy. Now that we're living separately, why would we keep lending you things? We just took back what's ours. Is that a problem?" Luke continued, exchanging smiles with me. "Well, we have washing machines and fridges too. You don't need 2 of each, do you?" they argued. "Exactly, so why not lend it to us again? Wherever you've moved, stuffing everything into a small space will just make it even more cramped," Luke concluded. We exchanged grins, acknowledging our cramped living situation. "True, we're pretty packed right now," I admitted. "Absolutely, it's a tight fit," Luke agreed. Chrissy began, "In that case." But we cut her off. "Remember, it's a storage room, so it's supposed to be cramped," I chuckled. "Exactly. Until the official contract is done, this is how it has to be," Luke concluded. This left Cody and our in-laws utterly confused. Then Luke dropped a bombshell. "Oh, by the way, both of us are moving to Boston next month." Luke smoothly explained that we had both originally been offered positions at the corporate headquarters but had turned them down because we were living with my in-laws. However, now that the obstacle of living with them was removed, we had both accepted the transfers and happily received internal notifications for positions at the corporate headquarters. Even better, if all went well, we could be working there till retirement. As luck would have it, Luke's colleague, who was going overseas for an extended period, wanted to sell his high-rise condo. Everything fell into place quickly. "You guys are going to live in a high-rise condo in Boston? Man, life sure does throw some curveballs, doesn't it?" Cody remarked. "Totally. If Cody and the gang hadn't told us to move out so they could live here, we wouldn't have stumbled upon this jackpot," I replied. "But how could we even afford a high-rise condo? That seems unreal," Chrissy questioned. "That's thanks to Alisa's dad. He provided the down payment," Luke revealed. "Alisa's dad just gave you the down payment?" Cody asked, surprised. "Yes, my sister is inheriting the family property, so this is sort of a trade-off. Plus, a previous owner asked if we could hold on to his modern altar until, upon my return to the country, I proposed lowering the asking price, and he agreed, securing a significant discount. However, hearing about the extent of the discount, Christy, who was standing nearby, burst into tears, exclaiming, "That's so unfair. I'd rather have a high-rise condo in Boston than live in Atlanta." Suddenly, the in-laws, who had been quiet all this time, switched gears and started fawning. "Well, it looks like Luke really has it together, doesn't he? Like mother, like son. Luke is following in my footsteps," they chimed in. Ignoring their comments, Luke turned to me and said, "Living in a high-rise in Boston, everyone's going to be so jealous. When are you moving? We must visit. If we're going to Boston, you should come too," I suggested. The idea seemed to intrigue them. However, the mood shifted when Cody and Christy stopped their arguing and snapped at the in-laws. "What are you talking about? Cody's being downsized, so you're going to have to support us. Plus, until I find another job, Christy will have to go back to work early from her parental leave. You'll have to take care of her household chores and the twins," they confronted. As tension mounted, Cody and Christy marched up to the in-laws who were carrying the twins. The babies, sensing the tension, started crying, waking up the entire neighborhood. Noticing the neighbors gathering at a distance from the garage, the in-laws turned beet red. Luke finally intervened, addressing Cody and the others. "Stop just standing there. Exactly, these guys are trying to take advantage of us, your parents." Luke's laughter echoed as he continued, "So, this is like a battle of wits between a raccoon and a fox, huh?" Turning to the bewildered faces around him, he grinned and explained, "If both couples, us and you, don't work, our family finances will collapse next month." Fuming, Christy asked what this meant. I chimed in, "Christy, you thought if Cody lost his job and you moved into the in-laws' rental home, you could just push the utility bills and groceries onto them, right? Well, our income was running this house and you can't count on it anymore." "I've never heard about this, exactly what we're telling you now," I admitted, puzzled. "Oh, and you'll also need to help with the mortgage payments for the house renovation. It's in father-in-law's name," Luke added. "Why is it in his name?" I questioned, catching the in-laws off guard. Luke took over, explaining, "I wanted the loan in my name since I was paying for it, but Dad insisted it would be shameful. So we used this property as collateral. Until now, we've been transferring money into Dad's account to cover the loan. Cody, you'll need to chip in starting next month." Of course, the in-laws and Cody were against it, but Luke firmly declined to continue payments. "We're going to give up the inheritance. So Cody, as the one who will inherit, you better take good care of your parents and the family home," I firmly told him. "But children are still obligated to take care of their parents, right?" my mother-in-law insisted. Luke brushed it off, saying, "Well, considering we've been covering your living expenses and loan payments for the past 2 years, I'd say that pretty much balances out any future caregiving costs I'd have as a son, don't you think?" "Let's go home, love," Luke said, looking at me. "Goodbye, everyone. I doubt we'll meet again." "Take care," I said, bidding farewell. The next day, Luke and I sold off the furniture and appliances we had moved from the main house, along with 2 cars we wouldn't need anymore. When Chrissy texted us asking for them, I simply replied, "Why?" and blocked her. After that, the special leave granted for our job transfer wasn't enough, so we had to use up our remaining paid vacations to finally finish moving into the apartment. Buying the high-rise condo would take more time, so for the first year, we decided to rent, thanks to the generosity of my boss who owns the place. As the weekend arrived, bringing a bit of calm after the storm of recent days, we gazed at the city lights, and Luke broke the silence. "I know I've been a hassle this time, but thanks for sticking with me," I said, feeling grateful for Luke's patience. "What's with the formal tone all of a sudden?" Luke joked, but then his expression turned serious. "When we first got married and the idea of living together came up, I should have thought things through. But back then, I was just happy you chose me over Cody, who I'd been compared to since we were kids." He continued, reflecting on how we had mindlessly followed his parents' wishes until they told us to move out to make room for Cody and his family due to the company restructuring. It struck me, how could they say that after being such a burden on us financially and otherwise? Luke wondered aloud. "And then I thought about how much your parents must worry about you given your situation." He explained that he sent an apology email to my parents, and their response was heartening. "If we promise to make our daughter happy in the future, the past can be forgiven." Encouraged by this, when they discussed the down payment, they lent it to us without a hitch. Luke made a promise to do everything in his power to protect our life together, just the 2 of us and our future children, if we were blessed to have them. However, on the other hand, it seemed my in-laws were struggling. Despite pulling from their retirement income, they could barely afford the loan for the home renovation. With Cody's attempts to find new employment proving futile, they were forced to make do with Christy's salary now that she had returned to work. Arguments were frequent, often loud enough to hear outside the house. A former colleague even reached out to me, mentioning gossip about them skipping town, as they had cut off all contact with Luke and me. They even resorted to reaching out to my parents, but my dad immediately changed his phone number, seeing it as a small but significant step, given how they had belittled my family and neglected pre-marriage courtesies. Now, they had almost no way to get in touch with us. What goes around comes around, I mused.
Something wasn't right. I stared at the photo in my trembling hands, trying to make sense of the gnawing feeling in my gut. The baby in the picture had my nose, my chin, but something felt off. Maybe it was the post-delivery hormones talking, but I couldn't shake the sensation that this wasn't the same child I'd held in my arms just hours ago. I'm Addison, and this should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I found myself sitting in my hospital bed at 3 a.m., obsessing over a hospital photo while my newborn daughter slept peacefully in the bassinet beside me. "You're being paranoid," I whispered to myself, but the doubt wouldn't leave. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. My sister Victoria's perfectly coiffed head poked through the door, despite the late hour. "Still awake, sweetie? You should be resting." I couldn't sleep," I admitted, quickly tucking the photo under my blanket. Something about Victoria's overly concerned expression made me uneasy. She'd been hovering around the maternity ward all day, insisting on helping with everything from diaper changes to photos. "Where's Ezra?" Victoria perched on the edge of my bed, her designer perfume overwhelming the sterile hospital smell. "He went home to shower and grab some supplies." I glanced at my sleeping daughter, that protective instinct surging again. "You're here late." Victoria's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just checking on my favorite sister and niece. The night nurse let me in. We got chatting earlier." My stomach clenched. Victoria had always been the perfect one, the sister who had everything figured out. Except for one thing, she couldn't have children of her own. The doctors had confirmed it years ago. "You should go home," I said firmly. "Visiting hours are over." "Don't be silly. Family is different." She reached for the baby, but I shifted slightly, blocking her path. Something flickered across her face. Anger? Frustration? The night nurse, Shanice, saved me by walking in. "Time for vitals, Mama." "Oh, hello again, Miss Thornton. I'm afraid you'll need to leave now." Victoria's smile turned brittle. "Of course. Sweet dreams, sis." She kissed my cheek, lingering a moment too long. After she left, Shanice checked my vitals, then paused. "Your sister's been around a lot today." "Too much," I admitted. Shanice hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Earlier, I saw her near the nursery station when I was updating records. She said she was lost, looking for the cafeteria, which is in the opposite direction." My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Paris. "How's my goddaughter? Need anything?" I typed back quickly. "Can you come first thing tomorrow? Something feels wrong." "What do you mean?" Paris replied instantly. "Just come, please." I picked up the photo again, studying it in the dim light. The baby's eyes were brown in the picture, but when I looked at my daughter sleeping beside me, her eyes were unmistakably blue, like mine and Ezra's. "Shanice," I called softly. "The photos taken in the nursery, who handles them?" "The photography service uploads them directly to our system. Why?" "Could there be mix-ups? With the photos, I mean?" Shanice frowned. "It's all digital now, tied to the baby's ID bracelet. Pretty foolproof." She glanced at the photo in my hand. "Something wrong?" I shook my head, not ready to voice my fears. "Just new mom jitters, I guess." But as Shanice left, I carefully compared my sleeping daughter's features to the photo again. The differences were subtle: the shape of the ears, the curve of the mouth, small things nobody else might notice. But I noticed. I reached for my phone again, this time pulling up Victoria's social media. There it was, a post from just an hour ago. "Best aunt ever. Welcome to the world, precious angel." But the photo she'd posted, it wasn't the same as mine. The baby looked different, more like the child I was looking at now. My hands shook as I took a picture of my sleeping daughter and compared it to Victoria's post. Two different babies, two different photos. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet. I remembered Victoria's strange behavior all day, her hovering around the nursery, her convenient friendship with the night staff, the way she'd insisted on handling the photography paperwork to help out. I touched my daughter's tiny hand, and her fingers curled around mine instinctively. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that something was very wrong, and my sister was behind it. "I don't know what you're up to, Victoria," I whispered, "but I'm going to find out." Paris arrived early the next morning, coffee in hand, just as Ezra was helping me pack our bags to head home. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. "Spill it," she said, settling into the visitor's chair. "You barely slept, did you?" I handed her both photos. "Look at these. Really look." She studied them, brow furrowing. "They're different babies." "Thank God you see it too." I turned to Ezra, who was organizing discharge papers. "Tell her what you told me this morning." Ezra sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Addie, we've been over this. Babies change appearance in their first few days. You're exhausted and—" "Don't patronize me," I snapped. "I know my own child." Paris stood up, placing herself between us. "Okay, let's think this through. What exactly happened yesterday?" I recounted Victoria's strange behavior, the nursery incident, and the social media posts. With each detail, Paris's expression grew more concerned, while Ezra's became more skeptical. "Your sister's been through a lot," Ezra said gently. "Maybe she's just overexcited about being an aunt." "Or maybe she's finally lost it," Paris muttered. A knock at the door interrupted us. Victoria swept in, carrying a massive flower arrangement. "Ready to go home, Mommy?" Actually," I said, keeping my voice steady. "We were just discussing the baby photos." Victoria set down the flowers, her smile never wavering. "What about them?" I held up my phone. "Your post shows a different baby than the official hospital photo." "Don't be ridiculous." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "I just used better filters." "Filters don't change bone structure," Paris interjected. Victoria's eyes flashed. "I don't appreciate what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything," I said. "I'm stating facts. You've been acting strange since I went into labor. Hanging around the nursery, befriending staff, insisting on handling paperwork." "Because I love you," Victoria's voice rose. "Because I wanted to help." "God, is this how you thank me? With accusations?" Ezra stepped forward. "Everyone needs to calm down." "I am calm," I said. "I'm also not stupid. Shanice saw you near the record station yesterday." Victoria's face hardened. "That nosy nurse should mind her own business. You know what? I don't need this. I've done nothing but support you, while you've always been jealous of me." "Jealous?" I laughed incredulously. "Of what? Your failed marriages? Your inability to—" "Don't!" Victoria's shriek cut through the room, making the baby stir. "Don't you dare!" Paris moved protectively closer to the bassinet. "I think you should leave, Victoria." Victoria grabbed her purse, hands shaking. "Fine. But remember, Addison, you're not the only one with access to lawyers. Be very careful what you accuse me of." After she stormed out, Ezra turned to me. "That was unnecessary." "Unnecessary?" Paris scoffed. "Did you see how defensive she got?" I was already reaching for my phone, scrolling through contacts. "I need to talk to someone in hospital administration, now." "Addie," Ezra pleaded, "you're going to create a huge problem over nothing." "Nothing?" I showed him the hospital bracelet photo I'd taken last night. "Look at the number sequence, then look at this morning's." I pulled up another photo. "They're different." Paris and Ezra leaned in. The difference was subtle, just one digit off, but it was there. "Jesus," Ezra whispered. "Still think I'm being paranoid?" Before anyone could respond, Shanice hurried in. "Mrs. Rogers, there's something you need to know. I was reviewing last night's logs, and there's a discrepancy in the nursery records. Someone accessed them using my login during my break." My heart stopped. "When?" "Right around the time I saw your sister near the station." Shanice twisted her hands nervously. "I've already reported it to security." Ezra sank into a chair, finally looking shaken. "This can't be happening." "Oh, it's happening," I said, pulling out my laptop. And I'm not leaving this hospital until I know exactly what Victoria did. Paris squeezed my shoulder. What do you need? First, I need Turner's number. He's that lawyer friend of my mom's. And then? Ezra asked quietly. I looked at my sleeping daughter, fierce protection surging through me. Then we find out what other lies my sister's been telling. Because this is just the beginning. The room fell silent, except for the soft beeping of monitors and my daughter's gentle breathing. In that moment, I knew nothing would ever be the same. But I was ready for war. Turner's office smelled like old leather and coffee. He studied the hospital documents spread across his desk, occasionally adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. This is serious, Addison, he said finally. Tampering with medical records is a felony. I know. I shifted in my chair, grateful Paris had offered to watch the baby so I could meet with Turner privately. But I need proof before I make any accusations. What about the DNA test results? Turner lifted a paper from the stack. They're interesting. 3 days after leaving the hospital, I'd secretly ordered maternal DNA tests for both me and my daughter. The results had arrived that morning. Interesting is one word for it. I leaned forward. How is it possible that my daughter and I share different maternal genetic markers than Victoria? Turner removed his glasses. There are several possibilities, the most likely being that we're not full sisters. The words felt strange in my mouth. But that's impossible. Your mother might have some explaining to do. Turner pulled out another document. I did some digging. There are inconsistencies in both your birth records. A knock interrupted us. Shanice entered, still in her scrubs. Sorry I'm late. My shift just ended. Thank you for coming, Turner said, gesturing to a chair. Can you walk us through what you witnessed that night? Shanice nodded. I was doing my rounds when I saw Victoria at the nurse's station. She claimed she was lost, but I'd seen her there before. Later, I checked the computer logs and found someone had accessed the records using my credentials. Could you see what they changed? No, but... Shanice hesitated. I did notice something odd. When I was helping with the newborn photos, Victoria kept insisting there was a mix-up with the ID bracelets. She was very persistent about rechecking them. My hands clenched. She was creating confusion on purpose. There's more, Shanice added. The next morning, I overheard her arguing with someone on the phone. She said something about fixing a mistake and making things right. Turner scribbled notes. Did you report this? Yes, but... Shanice looked uncomfortable. Yesterday, hospital administration told me to drop it. Apparently, Victoria's husband is on the hospital board. Of course he is, I muttered. Victoria's third husband was some hotshot executive. She'd made sure everyone knew it. My phone buzzed. A text from Ezra. Your sister just showed up at the house. Says she wants to talk. Don't let her in, I typed back. I'm on my way. Turner gathered the papers. We need more concrete evidence before we can proceed legally. But Addison... He paused. Be careful. People who manipulate records usually have bigger secrets to hide. I rushed home to find Victoria sitting on my porch steps, makeup perfect as always. Ezra stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. We need to talk, Victoria said, standing. About what? How you tampered with hospital records? She flinched. You don't understand. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? I laughed harshly. From what? From the truth. Victoria's voice cracked. About our mother. About everything. What truth? I found letters, she said quietly. Years ago in Mom's study. Letters that proved... She took a shaky breath. We don't share the same father or mother. The world tilted. You're lying. Am I? She pulled out an envelope. The DNA test results you secretly ordered? I had them done years ago, too. That's how I knew. Ezra stepped forward. Wait, what? Our mother isn't my biological mother, Victoria continued. She adopted me after marrying my father, but she never told anyone. She let everyone believe we were full sisters. So you decided to mess with my baby's records? I demanded. How does that make any sense? Because I was angry. Victoria's composure cracked. You got everything I couldn't have. A baby, a happy marriage, our mother's real love. I thought if I could just create enough doubt about the hospital records, you'd feel what I felt. That uncertainty, that fear. You're insane! I moved toward the door. Get off my property before I call the police. Fine! Victoria straightened her designer jacket. But this isn't over. Ask our mother about July 15th, 28 years ago. Ask her what really happened that night. She walked to her car, heels clicking on the pavement. Just before getting in, she turned. Oh, and Addison? Those DNA results? They're just the beginning. There's so much more you don't know. As her car disappeared down the street, Ezra touched my arm. What do we do now? I pulled out my phone, dialing a familiar number. Now we talk to my mother, and this time, she better tell the truth. July 15th? My mother Paisley's hand trembled as she set down her teacup. Who told you about that date? I sat across from her in her pristine living room, where I'd spent countless Sunday dinners, pretending we were the perfect family. Victoria did, right after admitting she tampered with my baby's hospital records. She did what? Paisley's face paled. That's impossible. Victoria would never… Stop! I slapped the DNA results on the coffee table. No more lies. Tell me what happened on July 15th. Paisley stared at the papers, her carefully maintained facade cracking. I never meant for either of you to find out. Find out what? That night. She closed her eyes. That was when I brought Victoria home from the hospital, not as a newborn, but as a 3-year-old. The room seemed to tilt. What? Her mother, her biological mother, was my best friend. She died in a car accident, and Victoria's father couldn't cope. He and we grew close during the grief. We married 6 months later. And you pretended she was yours? Just like that? It was different times, Paisley defended. Victoria needed stability. We gave her a new start, a clean slate. By lying? I stood up, pacing. What about my father? Does he know? Paisley's silence was deafening. Mom? Your father. She twisted her wedding ring. The man you think is your father, he isn't. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. What? It was a brief relationship. He was married. When I found out I was pregnant, I never told him. Your father, the man who raised you, he knew. He chose to love you as his own. My phone buzzed. A text from Turner. Found something in the records. Come to my office ASAP. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. Addison, please. Paisley grabbed my arm. You have to understand. Understand what? That my whole life is a lie? That Victoria knew before me? I yanked away. Did you know what she was planning at the hospital? No. But Victoria, she's always been fragile. When she found out she couldn't have children, that doesn't excuse what she did. Of course not. Paisley's voice cracked. But she's still your sister. No, I said coldly. Apparently she's not. Turner's office was cramped with Paris, and Ezra already there when I arrived. Files covered every surface. Look at this, Turner said, pushing forward a document. Victoria's original birth certificate. Her biological mother's name is listed as Margaret Winters. My mother's best friend, I confirmed. Here's where it gets interesting. Turner pulled up another file on his computer. Margaret Winters didn't die in a car accident. She disappeared. The police suspected foul play, but could never prove anything. Paris leaned forward. What are you saying? I'm saying someone went to great lengths to create a new identity for Victoria. And your mother was involved. My phone lit up with a text from Victoria. Found Mom's old diary. You're not going to believe what's in it. Meet me at the park in an hour if you want the truth. It's a trap, Paris warned when I showed them. Probably, I agreed. But I need to know. I'm coming with you, Ezra said firmly. The park was empty, except for Victoria, sitting on a bench with a worn leather book in her lap. I knew you'd come, she said without looking up. Curiosity always was your weakness, just like manipulation was yours. I stayed standing. What's in the diary? The real story. She finally met my eyes. About how our mother stole me from my real mom. About how she convinced everyone Margaret had died. About how she built her perfect little family on lies. You're lying! Am I? She opened the diary. July 15th. Margaret won't let go. She's threatening to tell everyone. I can't lose my family now. Not after everything I've done to create it. My hands shook. That doesn't prove anything. No? Victoria pulled out more papers. These police reports might. Turns out Margaret didn't just disappear. She was last seen arguing with our mother. The same mother who suddenly had a new daughter days later. Why are you doing this? Because you deserve to know what kind of woman raised us. Victoria stood. And because now you know how it feels to have everything you believed in torn apart. She held out the diary. The truth hurts, doesn't it, sister? Or should I even call you that anymore? I took the diary, my world splintering into pieces. This isn't over. No. Victoria smiled coldly. It's just beginning. The handwriting changes halfway through, Paris said, examining the diary under her desk lamp. Look at these entries from before July 15th compared to after. I leaned closer. She was right. The earlier entries were looser, more flowing. The later ones, including the damning entry about Margaret, were tighter, more controlled. Victoria could have forged it, Ezra suggested from across the room, where he was rocking our daughter. Maybe. I rubbed my temples. But what about the police reports? Turner spread the yellowed documents across the table. I've been making calls. The detective who handled Margaret's disappearance is still alive. Retired now, but he remembers the case. What did he say? That your mother was the prime suspect, but they could never prove anything. Margaret's car was found at a bus station. Security cameras showed her getting on a bus to Miami, but the trail went cold there. My phone buzzed. Another text from Victoria. Found Margaret's sister. Want to meet her? Don't respond, Paris warned. She's playing games. No, I stood up. She's trying to destroy our mother, and I need to know why. I called the number Victoria had sent. A woman answered on the second ring. Hello, Addison, she said. I'm Rachel, Margaret's sister. Victoria said you might call. Is it true? My voice cracked. About my mother? Meet me at the Golden Cup Cafe in an hour. Bring the diary. The cafe was quiet. Just a few afternoon stragglers nursing cold coffee. Rachel looked startlingly like the photos I'd seen of Margaret. Same dark hair, same sharp features. Victoria showed me the DNA results, she said after I sat down. You're not Paisley's biological daughter either, are you? Apparently not. I placed the diary on the table. Did you know about this? Rachel picked up the diary, flipping through it. Some of these entries, they're in Margaret's handwriting. What? The early ones. This was her diary. Look at the first page. There, faded but clear. Property of Margaret Winters. I don't understand, I said. Why would my mother have Margaret's diary? Because she took it, along with everything else. Rachel's voice hardened, including Victoria. But why? Paisley couldn't have children. She'd tried for years. Margaret was her best friend, recently divorced, struggling as a single mother. Paisley offered to help, to babysit Victoria. Then one day, they both disappeared. And Margaret? Followed them, confronted Paisley, then vanished. Rachel pulled out an envelope. But she didn't die. She sent me letters, for years, trying to find Victoria. The last one came 3 months ago. My hands shook as I opened the most recent letter. The handwriting matched the early diary entries perfectly. She's alive? Was. She passed away last month. Cancer. Her last wish was for Victoria to know the truth. Rachel paused. What I don't understand is you. Where do you fit in? I don't know. I thought of Victoria's words. The truth hurts, doesn't it? But I'm going to find out. My phone lit up. Ezra. Your mother's here. She's hysterical. Says Victoria threatened to go to the police. I have to go, I told Rachel, but I need copies of those letters. Take them. She pushed the envelope across the table. But be careful. Paisley's already destroyed one family. Don't let her destroy yours too. I found my mother pacing my living room. Mascara streaked down her face. Victoria's lost her mind, she said when she saw me. She's threatening to tell everyone about Margaret, about the adoption. You mean the kidnapping? I held up the diary. Margaret's diary? Paisley froze. Where did you get that? From her sister. Rachel says hello, by the way. You don't understand. Then explain it, I shouted. Explain why you stole your best friend's child. Explain why you lied about my father. Explain why my entire life is built on your lies. Because I had nothing, Paisley screamed back. I couldn't have children. My husband was leaving me. Margaret had everything I wanted. A beautiful daughter, a fresh start. So I took it. And me? Where did I come from? Paisley sank onto the couch. A mistake. An affair with a married man. When I found out I was pregnant, it was like a miracle. I finally had what I wanted. 2 perfect daughters. Built on perfect lies. Victoria's voice came from the doorway. We hadn't heard her come in. Should we tell her the rest, Mother? About what really happened to Margaret that night? Paisley's face went white. Victoria, please. No more secrets, Victoria said coldly. It's time for the whole truth. Tell them what happened at the bus station, Victoria demanded, her voice shaking. Tell them what you did to my real mother. Paisley clutched her designer handbag like a shield. I never meant the truth. Victoria slammed her hand on the coffee table, making us all jump. Or I will. She followed us, Paisley whispered. Margaret. She tracked us to the bus station, said she'd call the police, tell them I'd kidnapped you. She looked at Victoria. I couldn't let that happen. So what did you do? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. I had sleeping pills. I put them in her coffee while we talked. Told her I'd bring you to say goodbye. But instead, Paisley's voice cracked. Instead, I put her on that bus to Miami. Made sure she was seen on the cameras. Then I drove her car to a storage facility 2 states away. Where you kept her until the pills wore off, Victoria finished. Locked in that storage unit for 3 days. My hand flew to my mouth. Oh my God. When I let her out, Paisley continued, I told her if she ever came back, I'd tell everyone she'd abandoned her daughter. That she was an unfit mother. I had documents. Forged, but convincing. No one would believe her over me, the respected doctor's wife. You monster, Victoria breathed. You destroyed her life. I gave you a better one. Paisley stood up. Private schools, luxury vacations, everything she couldn't provide. She was my mother. And what about me? I cut in. Was my father really married, or was that another lie? Paisley wouldn't meet my eyes. He was my doctor, during my fertility treatments. The room spun. My father is your fertility doctor? Was, Victoria said. He died last year, never knowing he had a daughter. How long have you known all this? I demanded. Since I found the storage unit receipt in Mom's old papers. I tracked down Margaret last month, but she was already sick. Too sick to fight anymore. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She died thinking I didn't want her. Ezra, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Is that why you tried to take our baby? Revenge? Victoria laughed bitterly. I wanted Addison to feel what my mother felt. That panic, that helplessness. But I couldn't go through with it. In the end, I just switched some photos, created doubt. Like mother, like daughter, right? She glared at Paisley. I did it for love, Paisley pleaded. No, I said. You did it for control, and now you've lost everything. My phone buzzed. Turner. Police want to talk to all of you. Margaret's sister filed charges. Rachel called the police? Paisley went pale. Of course she did, Victoria said. Did you think you'd get away with it forever? Paisley grabbed her purse. You can't prove anything. It was 30 years ago. Except Margaret wrote everything down. Victoria pulled out a stack of letters. Every detail, every threat, every manipulation. And now the police have copies. Red and blue lights flashed outside my window. Car doors slammed. I loved you both, Paisley whispered. Everything I did. Save it for your lawyer, Victoria cut her off as officers entered the room. I watched them lead my mother away, reading her rights. Victoria stood rigid, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, I said softly. About everything. Me too. She wiped her eyes. I never should have involved your baby. I was so angry, for so long. What happens now? Now? Victoria looked at the letters in her hand. Now we find out who we really are. Without her lies between us, Ezra brought our daughter over, and I held her close, breathing in her sweet baby smell. She's beautiful, Victoria said. I really am sorry about the hospital. I'll tell them everything, make it right. I know. I touched her arm. We're not sisters by blood, but we're connected by something else now. What's that? The truth, finally. Outside, the police car pulled away, taking with it the woman who'd orchestrated our entire lives. But as I stood there with my daughter, my husband, and the woman who'd grown up thinking she was my sister, I realized something. Sometimes family isn't about blood or lies or perfectly crafted stories. Sometimes it's about facing the truth together, no matter how ugly it is. Stay for dinner? I asked Victoria. She nodded, managing a small smile. I'd like that. The courthouse hallway buzzed with whispered conversations. 3 months had passed since Paisley's arrest, and today was her preliminary hearing. Victoria sat beside me on the hard wooden bench, both of us watching people file into the courtroom. She's going to plead guilty, Turner said, approaching us with his briefcase. The prosecutor offered a deal. How much time? Victoria asked. 5 years, with possibility of parole after 3. Given her age and the time passed since the original crime, it's fair. Rachel appeared, clutching a worn photo album. I brought these, pictures of Margaret with Victoria. I thought, maybe you'd want to see them. Victoria's hands trembled as she opened the album. I remember this, she said, pointing to a photo of a young woman pushing a toddler on a swing. The park near our old house. I used to think it was just dreams, but your mother took you there every Sunday, Rachel said softly. She packed peanut butter sandwiches and read you stories under the big oak tree. A court officer called us inside. As we filed in, I caught sight of Paisley being led in through a side door. She looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced by plain navy blue, her perfectly styled hair now showing gray roots. All rise, the bailiff announced. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. I barely heard the legal terminology being exchanged until Paisley was asked to speak. I'd like to address my daughters, she said, her voice wavering. The judge nodded permission. Victoria, Paisley turned to face us. I convinced myself I was saving you, that giving you a privileged life justified stealing you from your mother. I was wrong. My selfishness destroyed 3 lives. Yours, Margaret's, and Addison's. She shifted her gaze to me. Addison, I should have told you about your father. Dr. James was a good man. He never knew about you because I was afraid of losing everything I'd built. My whole life became about maintaining the perfect image, no matter the cost. Save your confession for someone who cares, Victoria snapped, standing up. You're only sorry because you got caught. Victoria, the judge warned. No, she needs to hear this. Victoria pulled out Margaret's last letter. My real mother died thinking I hated her, that I chose you over her. Do you know what that did to her? To me? Paisley crumpled in her seat. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 30 years. Victoria's voice cracked. Sorry doesn't erase the nightmares, the confusion, the feeling that something was always wrong. I grabbed Victoria's hand, squeezing it tight. And you, she turned to me, softer now. I almost did to your daughter what she did to me. I became exactly like her, so obsessed with revenge that I almost hurt an innocent baby. I'll never forgive myself for that. But you stopped, I reminded her. You chose to be better than her. The judge called for order, and the formal sentencing began. When it was done, Paisley was led away, but not before calling out one last time. "The safe in my study," she said. "The combination is your birthdays. Everything you need to know is in there." That evening, Victoria and I stood in Paisley's study, staring at the wall safe. "Ready?" I asked. She nodded. I entered the numbers, and the safe clicked open. Inside were 2 envelopes. One labeled Victoria, contained adoption papers. Real ones, never filed. And a letter from Margaret, written the day before the kidnapping. The other, marked Addison, held my original birth certificate and a photo of my biological father. "He has your eyes," Victoria said, looking at the picture. "And your mother had your smile," I replied, watching her read Margaret's letter. Victoria wiped her eyes. She knew Paisley was planning something. That's why she wrote this, trying to explain everything to me. She never abandoned me. No, she didn't. I touched the birth certificate. Just like my father never chose to abandon me, Paisley stole those choices from all of us. So what do we do now? I looked at my phone, at the recent photo of my daughter with Ezra. We make different choices. Better ones. Victoria nodded, carefully folding Margaret's letter. "I have something to tell you. I'm moving to Miami. Rachel found Margaret's old house there. It's for sale." "Are you sure?" "I need to know who I am without Paisley's lies, without the anger." She managed a small smile. "But I'd like to stay in touch. Be real sisters this time, by choice instead of manipulation." I hugged her, both of us holding on tight. "I'd like that too." As we left Paisley's house for the last time, Victoria turned to me. "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "She really did love us, in her twisted, destructive way." "Yeah," I said, locking the door. "But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to love people enough to tell them the truth." The Miami sun beat down as I helped Victoria hang the last family photo on her new wall. In it, Margaret beamed at the camera, holding a toddler Victoria in front of that old oak tree. "Perfect spot," I said, stepping back. Victoria touched the frame gently. "Rachel says Mom used to spend hours in this room, reading to me." She looked around the sunny living room of her mother's old house. "It feels right, being here." My phone buzzed. A text from Paris. "Ezra says the baby won't sleep without her story. Video call?" "Mind if I take this?" I asked Victoria. "Are you kidding? I need my daily niece fix." We settled on the couch as I called home. Ezra's tired face appeared, our daughter fussing in his arms. "Someone misses her mom," he said. "And her aunt," Victoria added, leaning into frame. "Hey, princess!" The baby's face lit up at our voices. As Ezra read her favorite story, Victoria's doorbell rang. "That'll be Rachel with the rest of Margaret's things," she said, heading to answer it. But it wasn't Rachel at the door. It was an older man, distinguished-looking, with familiar blue eyes. My eyes. "Dr. James," I breathed. "I got your letter," he said. "I hope it's okay that I came." Victoria appeared behind me. "I'll give you some privacy." "No," I said quickly. "Stay, please." We moved to the living room, where Ezra and the baby were still on video call. "Is that?" Ezra asked. "My father. My biological father." I turned the phone so he could see. "Meet your granddaughter." Dr. James's eyes welled up. "She has our eyes." "I'm so sorry about the letter," I said. "I know it must have been a shock. Finding out I had a daughter? That Paisley kept you from me?" He shook his head. "I should have known. She was unstable even then. But I never imagined she'd go so far." "Did you love her?" Victoria asked quietly. "I cared for her. She was my patient. desperate for a child. I broke every ethical code by getting involved. When she stopped coming to appointments, I assumed she'd moved on. He looked at me. If I had known. You didn't know, I said firmly. Just like Margaret didn't know what Paisley would do to Victoria. One person's lies destroyed so many lives. But not anymore, Victoria said. That's why I bought this house. To reclaim what was stolen, not just from me, but from my mother. And now you two can build something new. Something real? Dr. James pulled out an old photo. I found this in my records. The day Paisley first came to my clinic. I never connected it until I got your letter, but look. In the photo, a much younger Paisley sat in a waiting room. Behind her, barely visible, was a woman with a small child, Margaret and Victoria. They were there the same day, I realized. The day it all started, Victoria said, when Paisley saw what she wanted and decided to take it. But that's not how family works, I said, looking at my father, then at Victoria, then at my daughter on the screen. Real family is built on truth, not lies. On choice, not control. Dr. James cleared his throat. I know I can't make up for lost time, but if you're willing, I'd like to try. To be part of your life and my granddaughter's. I'd like that, I smiled. We can start now. Stay for dinner? Victoria makes amazing lasagna. Margaret's recipe, Victoria added. Rachel found her old cookbook. As Victoria headed to the kitchen, I showed Dr. James, Dad, around the house, pointing out the photos, sharing stories. Ezra kept the video call going, letting the baby babble at her newfound grandfather. Later, as we sat around Victoria's dining table, I looked at these people brought together by both tragedy and healing. My sister by choice, rebuilding her life in her mother's home. My biological father, tentatively stepping into his role as parent and grandparent. My husband and daughter joining us through a screen, but present in every way that mattered. To new beginnings, Victoria raised her glass. And to the truth, no matter how hard it is. To family, I added, the kind we choose, not the kind we're forced into. To healing, Dad said quietly. As the Miami sunset painted the room golden, I felt the last pieces of Paisley's web of lies dissolving. In their place was something stronger, a family built on honesty, forgiveness, and choice. Victoria caught my eye and smiled. Without words, we both knew. This was what real sisterhood felt like. This was what real family meant. And no amount of lies could ever compete with that truth.
You'll get it all back from the wedding gifts, honey. Don't worry about a thing. My mother's reassuring smile didn't quite reach her eyes as she patted my hand across the dinner table. I've seen that look before, the one that says she's already spent my money in her head. I'm Freya, and I've just been ambushed at what was supposed to be a normal family dinner. The fancy restaurant should have been my first clue. My parents never spring for the good places unless they want something. It's just that Ellis's family is contributing so much. Robin, my younger sister, chimed in, twirling her new engagement ring. And we want everything to be perfect. Perfect. Right. Perfect like the time they borrowed my college fund for Robin's Sweet 16. Or perfect like when they convinced me to defer my master's degree so Robin could have her dream gap year in Europe. How much? I asked, cutting through the butter wouldn't melt act. My father suddenly became very interested in his wine glass. Classic George move. Check out when things get uncomfortable. Well? My mother glanced at Robin, who was now doing her best Disney princess impression. The venue we've chosen is absolutely stunning. The Riverside Palace. How much, Mom? $48,000. I nearly choked on my water. That's my entire savings. But think about how beautiful it will be, Robin squealed as if that made it better. Ellis's family is handling the honeymoon and the flowers and you need my life savings for the rest? The words came out sharper than I intended. Freya. My mother's voice took on that edge I knew too well. This is what family does. We support each other. Remember when we paid for your braces? I was 12, Mom, and I've been paying my own way since I was 16. Don't be difficult, my father finally spoke up, still not meeting my eyes. Your sister only gets married once. I wanted to laugh or cry or maybe throw my overpriced salmon at the wall. Instead, I did what I always do, smiled and nodded while my stomach turned to ice. Of course, I heard myself say, whatever Robin needs. Robin clapped her hands like a seal getting a fish. I knew you'd understand. This means everything to me. My phone buzzed. A text from Vada. Don't you dare let them guilt you again. My one true friend, always seeing through my family's BS from a mile away. As my family launched into wedding details, my phone buzzed again, this time an unknown number. Ms. Thornton, this is Craig Wilson from Riverside Palace. We need to confirm the deposit details for the upcoming wedding. I stepped away from the table, watching my family fawn over Robin's Pinterest board. Yes, I'll be handling the financial arrangements. Great. Should I keep the invoice under the bride's name or? Something clicked in my mind, a small spark of possibility. Actually, I said quietly, please put everything under my name. I'm the one making the payments after all. Of course, I'll email you the contracts right away. Back at the table, Robin was describing her dream cake. 5 tiers, gold leaf, hand-painted sugar flowers. Mom was practically glowing. Dad was signing the check for dinner without even looking at it. Don't worry about a thing, my mother repeated, squeezing my hand. The gift money will cover everything. Plus, Ellis's family is very generous. I nodded, already scanning the venue contract that had just landed in my inbox, specifically the cancellation clauses and payment terms. You're the best sister ever, Robin announced to the restaurant at large, never once actually thanking me. My phone buzzed one more time. Vada again. Whatever they're planning, don't trust them. Too late, I thought. But maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't planning to trust them at all. I smiled at my family, raised my glass in a toast to the happy couple, and started plotting. They wanted a perfect wedding? Fine. But this time I'd be the one writing the script. To Robin and Ellis, I said sweetly, while my other hand saved Craig's number in my contacts. May you get exactly what you deserve. My mother beamed, completely missing the steel behind my smile. But that's the thing about being the invisible daughter. Nobody ever sees you coming. So who are your bridesmaids going to be? I asked Robin over coffee, 3 weeks after the engagement dinner. I already knew the answer, but I wanted to hear her say it. Oh, she brightened, pulling out her phone. Bella's my maid of honor, of course. Then there's Madison from college, Katie from yoga, and Jessica from Ellis's office. I stirred my latte slowly. That's 4. Robin beamed. The perfect number. Their dresses are being fitted next Tuesday. The perfect number. Just like that, I'd been written out of my own sister's wedding party. Not that I was surprised, disappointed maybe, but not surprised. My phone lit up with a message from the venue. I quickly turned it face down, but not before Robin noticed. Are you talking to Craig? She frowned. Mom said you've been super involved with the venue stuff. Just confirming some details, I said smoothly. Someone has to keep track of the payments. Right, speaking of which. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. I need to borrow a little more. The florist found these amazing imported peonies and... No. Robin blinked, startled by the firmness in my voice. But, I said no, Robin. 48,000 is the limit. She sat back, her lower lip trembling. I'll tell Mom you're being difficult. Go ahead. Before she could respond, my phone rang. It was Vada. Sorry, I said, standing up. work emergency. I stepped outside the coffee shop, leaving Robin with her perfect wedding plans and her imported peonies. Please tell me you didn't give her more money, Vada said without preamble. Not this time. I started walking toward our office building. But guess what? I'm not a bridesmaid. Of course you're not. That would mean acknowledging you as an actual person instead of an ATM. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Hey, can you look at something for me? I need a second pair of eyes on these venue contracts. At my desk later that afternoon, Vada leaned over my shoulder, scanning the documents. Holy shit, she whispered. They really expect you to front all this money? It gets better. I pulled up my banking app. Look what they did last week. Vada's eyes widened at the withdrawal description. Mom's medical deductible, $5,000. But your mom isn't sick. Nope. Called the insurance company yesterday. No claims filed. I clicked through to another screen. That money went straight to the florist. Freya. Vada grabbed my chair, spinning me to face her. This is theft. I need to handle it my way. I cut her off, and I will. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Dress fitting tomorrow at 2. Robin wants you to see her choices. See her choices, I muttered, not be part of them. You're not actually going, are you? Vada asked. Of course I am. Have to keep up appearances. The next day I sat in the bridal boutique watching Robin twirl in dress after dress while her chosen bridesmaids cooed and gasped appropriately. My mother kept shooting me warning looks whenever my smile slipped. Isn't it perfect? Robin gushed, smoothing down the 6th white dress of the day. Ellis's family knows the designer personally. Speaking of Ellis, my mother interjected, have you handled that venue payment yet, Freya? They're asking for the next installment. All taken care of, I said quietly, thinking of the carefully worded addendum Craig had helped me add to the contract. Everything's going exactly according to plan. Perfect, Robin clapped. Now about those peonies. No, I said again, standing up. I have a meeting. The dress looks lovely, Robin. As I walked out, I heard Bella's stage whisper, God, she's so bitter. No wonder she's still single. I pulled out my phone and dialed Craig. Hey, it's Freya. Remember that conversation about payment schedules and service guarantees? I need you to add something else to the contract. The thing about required notice for cancellations? No. I stepped into my car, watching through the boutique window as my sister preened in her perfect dress, surrounded by her perfect bridesmaids. Something bigger. How much control do you have over the venue's utilities? There was a pause. Are you sure about this? More sure than I've ever been about anything. As I drove back to work, my phone lit up with another text from my mother. Robin's crying because you left early. Why do you always have to make things difficult? I didn't respond. They wanted difficult? They hadn't seen anything yet? The rehearsal dinner was everything I expected. Expensive, excessive, and exhausting. I sat at the far end of the table, watching Robin hold court while Ellis's family tried to match her energy with forced smiles. And then Robin announced to the table, gesturing with her champagne, Freya said she'd handle all the boring money stuff, because, that's totally her thing. She's obsessed with spreadsheets and budgets. Polite laughter rippled through the guests. I took a long sip of wine. Better than being obsessed with spending other people's money, Vada muttered beside me. I'd insisted she come as my +1, much to my mother's barely concealed horror. Speaking of money, Ellis's mother called down the table, the venue is just spectacular, though I heard there were some payment concerns. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. My mother's smile turned brittle. All sorted, she said quickly. Freya's handling everything. Such a blessing to have such a Practical daughter. Practical, Bella Stage whispered to Madison. That's code for boring. I stood up, excusing myself to the restroom. My father followed me into the hallway. Freya, wait. I turned, surprised. George rarely initiated conversations, especially not with me. About the money, he said, shifting uncomfortably. Your mother and I have been talking. About paying me back? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Well, that's the thing. We've done the math, and considering everything we've invested in you over the years, the braces, the college application fees, your first car. Are you serious right now? We're your parents, Freya. We supported you for over 20 years. In a way, this evens things out. I stared at him, ice crystallizing in my chest. You're not planning to pay me back at all, are you? He shrugged, already turning away. Family takes care of family. I watched him retreat back to the dining room, where Robin was now standing, tapping her glass for attention. Tomorrow's going to be absolutely magical, she gushed, and I just want to thank everyone who made it possible. Mom, Dad, Ellis's amazing family. My phone buzzed. A text from Craig. Final walkthrough complete. Everything's set per your specifications. I typed back. And the backup generators? Disabled as requested. But are you absolutely sure about this? Before I could respond, Robin's voice cut through my thoughts. And let's not forget my sister Freya, who's basically like a human calculator, so good with numbers. I mean, who needs a social life when you have Excel, right? More laughter, more knowing looks. I'm sure, I texted back to Craig. Vida appeared at my elbow with a fresh glass of wine. You okay? Never better. I showed her my phone. Everything's in place. Good. She clinked her glass against mine. Because your sister just announced that she's dedicating her first dance to all the single ladies who helped make her dream come true, while looking directly at you. I smiled, remembering the carefully worded clauses in the venue contract, the ones that gave me complete control over final payments and service continuations, the ones that specified exactly when and how services could be suspended. Let her have her moment, I said quietly. Tomorrow's going to be interesting enough. Back at the table, Ellis was now regaling everyone with stories about his family's business success, conveniently leaving out the recent bankruptcy rumors Vida had helped me uncover. My mother caught my eye across the table, her expression warning me to keep smiling, to play my part. The dutiful daughter, the human calculator, the family ATM. I raised my glass in acknowledgement, thinking about the venue owner Jeffrey's words during our private meeting last week. Business is business, Miss Thornton. If the final payment isn't received as specified, we follow protocol, no exceptions. Robin's voice rose above the dinner chatter again. Oh my God, everyone needs to follow my wedding Instagram account. I'm going to document every perfect moment. Every moment, I murmured, checking my watch. In exactly 18 hours, the carefully constructed facade of my sister's perfect day would begin to crack. In 20 hours, it would shatter completely. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Jeffrey. Contract addendum approved. All systems go for tomorrow. Just give the signal. I slipped my phone back into my purse and rejoined the dinner conversation, nodding and smiling at all the right moments. Let them think I was invisible. Let them think I was just the practical one, the boring one, the human calculator. Tomorrow they'd learn that even calculators can explode if you push the wrong buttons. To the happy couple, I raised my glass, meeting Robin's self-satisfied smirk with a smile of my own. May tomorrow be unforgettable. And oh, it would be, just not in the way they expected. The wedding ceremony went off without a hitch. Of course it did. I hadn't planned anything for that part. The real show would start at the reception. Everything looks amazing, my mother gushed, watching staff arrange centerpieces in the grand ballroom. Robin's going to be thrilled. I nodded, checking my phone. 4 new messages from Craig. Catering staff briefed. Bar inventory confirmed. Sound system tested. Waiting for your signal. The newlyweds made their entrance to thunderous applause. Robin was radiant in her designer gown, Ellis beaming beside her. They really did look perfect together, 2 people who'd never heard the word no in their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announced, please welcome Mr. and Mrs. Ellis Garrett. Vada appeared at my shoulder with 2 champagne flutes. Ready? Almost. I watched the staff circulating with hors d'oeuvres that cost more than my monthly rent. Robin's about to make her speech. Right on cue, my sister clinked her glass, drawing everyone's attention. Her makeup was flawless, her smile dazzling. The perfect bride. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today, she began. This wedding, it's beyond my wildest dreams, and it's all thanks to our amazing families. Our mother wiped away a tear. Our father nodded proudly. And speaking of dreams, Robin continued, Ellis and I have the most exciting announcement, thanks to everyone's incredible generosity with the wedding gifts. My hand tightened around my phone. We're extending our honeymoon. 2 weeks in Italy, all the best hotels, first class, everything. The room erupted in cheers. I typed a quick message to Craig. Phase 2, now. That's your money she's spending on that honeymoon, Vada whispered. Not for long. Robin was still talking. We've already booked the private tours in Venice, the villa in Tuscany. A discreet tap on my shoulder. It was Jeffrey, the venue owner, right on schedule. Miss Thornton, everything is prepared as discussed. I nodded, watching Robin bask in the attention. She hadn't even glanced in my direction once. The final payment deadline was an hour ago, Jeffrey continued softly. Should we proceed as planned? Yes. I handed him my phone, showing the contract clause. Execute exactly as written. He studied it for a moment, then gave a professional nod. Very well. 10 minutes until service suspension. Across the room, Ellis's mother was asking about the honeymoon details. But what about the wedding gifts? Weren't those meant to repay? Oh, don't worry about that, Robin laughed, waving her hand dismissively. Freya understands. Don't you, sis? All eyes turned to me. I raised my glass in response, smiling serenely. 5 minutes, Jeffrey murmured. Robin launched into describing their planned yacht tour of the Mediterranean. My mother was practically glowing with pride. Ellis's family looked increasingly uncomfortable. 2 minutes. Vada pulled out her phone, ready to capture what was coming. And the best part, Robin announced, is that we're upgrading everything. The gifts were so generous we can afford the luxury package. The lights flickered once, twice. Robin faltered. What's happening? 1 minute, Jeffrey confirmed. The staff began moving with practiced precision, quietly collecting the expensive champagne bottles from the tables. The bartenders started packing up their stations. Mom? Robin's voice had lost some of its confidence. What's going on? My mother turned to me, realization dawning in her eyes. Freya, what did you do? The lights dimmed to half power. The music faded to silence. The catering staff wheeled their carts toward the kitchen. What I had to, I replied, just as the main lights went out completely, leaving only the emergency exits illuminated. Chaos erupted. Guests murmured in confusion. Ellis's mother demanded answers. My father stood frozen, useless as always. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey's voice cut through the confusion. Due to non-payment of contracted services, we are legally required to suspend all wedding operations effective immediately. Robin's perfect smile cracked. Non-payment? But Freya handled all the... She stopped, finally looking at me with real understanding. That's right, I said quietly, but in the shocked silence everyone heard. I did handle it, all of it. My phone lit up with a message from Craig. Phase 3, ready on your command. I looked at my sister, my parents, all the people who'd taken and taken and taken, thinking I'd never push back. You know what they say about karma, Robin? I asked, typing my response to Craig. It's a lot like those wedding gifts you're stealing, best served with champagne. I hit send just as the emergency lights began to strobe and the real show finally began. What do you mean, $18,000? Ellis's voice cracked as he stared at the invoice Craig had just handed him. This was supposed to be paid. We stood in a small office off the main ballroom, where the sounds of confused guests filtered through the walls. Robin's mascara was starting to run. According to our records, Craig said professionally, the final payment was never received. As per the contract, all services must be suspended until the balance is settled. But Freya, Robin turned to me, her perfect facade crumbling. You were handling the payments. I was, I agreed calmly, until I stopped. My mother burst into the office, face flushed. What is happening out there? The staff is packing everything up. Mrs. Thornton, Jeffrey stepped forward. Your daughter Robin's wedding reception has been terminated due to non-payment. That's impossible. Freya, tell them. Tell them what, Mom? I pulled out my phone, showing them the payment schedule. That I paid the deposits? That I signed the contracts? That I had every right to stop payment when I realized you were stealing my money? Ellis loosened his bow tie, sweat beading on his forehead. I'll handle this. Let me just... He pulled out his wallet, hands shaking as he extracted a credit card. Craig ran it through the reader, declined. Try this one. Ellis fumbled with another card, declined again. Robin's eyes widened. Ellis. It's fine, baby. Just a mistake. He tried a third card. Same result. Your family's business filed for bankruptcy last month, I said quietly. Didn't he tell you, Robin? How did you? I'm good with spreadsheets, remember? Public records, too. The overhead lights flickered again. In the ballroom, someone screamed as the music cut out completely. Fix this! Robin grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. Fix it right now. I pulled free. Like you fixed paying me back? Like Mom fixed my emergency fund she drained for your flowers? We're family, my mother hissed. You can't do this to your sister's wedding. Family? I laughed. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't treat one member like an ATM while treating another like a princess. Jeffrey cleared his throat. If the balance isn't settled in the next 5 minutes, we'll have to ask all guests to leave the premises. I'll write a check, my father spoke up from the corner. Your account's overdrawn, I cut in. Has been for weeks. I checked. Robin's perfect curls were falling loose as she paced the small office. This can't be happening. The Instagram photos, the hashtag, everyone's watching. Yes, I agreed. They are. On cue, Bella burst into the office. Robin, oh my God, people are posting about this. It's all over social media. The blood drained from my sister's face. What? Everyone's saying the venue shut down your wedding because you couldn't pay? Is it true? Ellis slumped against the wall. I'll call my parent. They've blocked your number, I informed him. Something about maxing out their credit cards? The room fell silent except for Robin's ragged breathing. Through the walls, we could hear staff announcing that the reception was over, asking guests to please collect their belongings. You planned this? My mother whispered, staring at me like she'd never seen me before. You planned all of it. I learned from the best, Mom. You all taught me exactly how to manipulate situations to get what I want. Funny how that worked out. Craig's phone buzzed. Mr. Schmidt, the catering trucks are loaded. Should we proceed with full shutdown? Jeffrey nodded. Execute the final phase. Right on cue, the remaining lights went dark. Emergency generators hummed to life, casting everything in a dim, eerie glow. No, no, no. Robin's perfect day was unraveling thread by thread. This is a nightmare. Wake me up. Can't, I said, heading for the door. But look on the bright side. You got your viral wedding moment, just not the one you planned. Where are you going? My father called after me. I turned back one last time, taking in their shocked faces, their disbelief that quiet, practical Freya could do this to them. I'm going to get a drink, I said. But don't worry. Unlike some people, I can actually pay for what I order. As I walked away, I heard Robin's wail of despair, my mother's angry sobs, Ellis's stammered excuses. But for the first time in my life, their drama wasn't my problem. Vada was waiting in the hallway, grinning. Ready for that drink? Almost. I pulled out my phone one last time, sending a final text to Craig. Kill the air conditioning. After all, revenge, like karma, is best served cold. The ballroom erupted into chaos as the air conditioning died with an ominous wheeze. Summer heat began seeping in through the windows, making the already tense atmosphere even more suffocating. This is all your fault, Robin screamed, storming out of the office and pointing at me. Her voice carried across the room, drawing every eye. You ruined everything. Did I? I kept my voice level. Did I force you to steal my money? Did I make you announce you were using the wedding gifts for your honeymoon? Ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey announced through the PA system, due to the ongoing situation, we must ask you to... Don't you dare, my mother interrupted, rushing the stage. We can fix this. We just need time to... To what, Mom? Find someone else to rob? Bella, ever the opportunist, had her phone out, recording everything. This is better than Netflix. Ellis yanked off his bow tie, completely face red. Robin, baby, maybe we should just... No. Robin's mascara left black trails down her cheeks. This was supposed to be perfect. This was supposed to be my day. Your day? I stepped closer. You mean my savings account's day? You're just jealous. She jabbed a finger at my chest. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad love me more. The room went deadly quiet. Even Bella lowered her phone. Love you more? I laughed, and the sound echoed off the walls. They don't love you more, Robin. They're just more afraid of your tantrums. That's enough, my father shouted, finally finding his voice. Freya, you're making a scene. No, Dad. For once in my life, I'm ending one. The guests were openly staring now, some filming, others whispering behind their hands. The heat was making everyone sweat, perfect makeup running, expensive hairdos wilting. I can explain everything, Ellis started, addressing his family, but his mother cut him off. Save it, she snapped. We warned you about rushing into this marriage. Now look at this mess. Robin whirled on her new mother-in-law. Mess? Are you calling my wedding a mess? Well, if the bankrupted shoe fits, Bella muttered, just loud enough to be heard. Bankruptcy? Someone gasped. The whispers grew louder. My mother made one last desperate attempt. Everyone, please. There's been a misunderstanding with the venue. If you'll all just... No misunderstanding, Mrs. Thornton, Jeffrey interrupted. Your daughter Freya was legally in control of all payments and contracts. She exercised her right to terminate services. You had no right, Robin lunged at me, but Ellis caught her around the waist. That money was mine. The gifts were mine. The gifts, I said clearly, making sure everyone could hear, were supposed to pay me back for the $48,000 you stole from me, the money you and Mom and Dad took from my savings account, the money you just announced you're using for your honeymoon instead. The whispers turned to murmurs of shock. Ellis's grip on Robin loosened. 48,000? His father demanded. You said the wedding only cost 20,000. Robin's face went from red to white. I can explain. Oh, this is getting good, Bella narrated to her phone. The bride lied to her in-laws about money while stealing from her sister. Click like and follow for part 2. Turn that off, my mother screamed, making a grab for Bella's phone. In the ensuing scuffle, Bella stumbled backward into a waiter, sending a tray of half-empty champagne glasses crashing to the floor. The sound of shattering glass was like a starting pistol for total chaos. Guests began grabbing their purses and jackets. Ellis's family started demanding answers about the bankruptcy. Robin's bridesmaids huddled in a corner, furiously texting, and through it all, the heat kept rising. Security will escort everyone out, Jeffrey announced. The venue is now closed. This isn't over, my mother hissed, grabbing my arm. You've destroyed this family. I pulled free easily. No, Mom, you destroyed this family the moment you decided one daughter's happiness was worth stealing the other daughter's future. I hate you, Robin shrieked, mascara now completely streaked across her face. I'll never forgive you for this. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and felt nothing but pity. That's okay. I forgave myself the moment I decided to stop being your victim. As security began herding people toward the exits, Vada appeared beside me with 2 flutes of rescued champagne. Now, she asked. I took a glass, watching my family's perfect facade crumble in real time. Robin was sobbing in Ellis's increasingly uncomfortable embrace. My parents were being cornered by Ellis's furious family, and Bella's live stream had just hit 1,000 viewers. Now, I agreed, raising my glass. To karma. The lights went out completely, leaving only the glow of phone screens and the sound of my sister's wails echoing through the dark. Security efficiently herded the guests toward the exits, while staff dismantled the reception piece by piece. The 5-tier wedding cake disappeared first, followed by the champagne tower. Each removal felt like another brick falling from Robin's perfect facade. This is how you want to end things? My mother demanded, watching the staff roll away the gift table. By humiliating your sister in front of everyone? No, Mom. This is how you ended things. I'm just making sure everyone sees the truth. Ellis's father stormed over, red-faced and sweating in the heat. Where's my son? We need to discuss this bankruptcy situation right now. He's probably hiding in the coat room, Vada offered helpfully. That's where I saw him running after Robin threw her bouquet at his head. The wedding planner approached cautiously. Miss Thornton, the DJ wants to know if he should pack up or... I glanced at Robin, who was sitting in her $1,000 dress on the grand staircase, mascara-stained face buried in her hands. One last song, I decided. My choice. The planner nodded and hurried away. My father finally stepped forward, attempting authority. Freya, enough. You've made your point. Let's just what, Dad? Pretend this never happened. Like we pretended it was okay when you took my college fund or when you drained my emergency account for flowers. He flinched. Behind him, Ellis's mother gasped. You stole from your daughter's college fund? It's complicated, my mother started, but I cut her off. Actually, it's very simple. They've been stealing from me for years to fund Robin's lifestyle, and today they finally face the consequences. The DJ's voice crackled over the speakers. Last song of the night, folks. This one's dedicated to the bride, from her sister. The opening beats of Survivor by Destiny's Child filled the room. Robin's head snapped up. You bitch, she snarled, stumbling to her feet. You absolute... Language, dear, Ellis's mother cut in, though I suppose proper behavior isn't a priority in your family. Bella, still filming, circled the scene like a shark. The comments are loving this. We're trending locally. Turn that off. Robin lunged for the phone, but in her wedding dress, she only managed to trip and fall face first into what remained of the desserts table. The crash drew Ellis from his hiding spot. He took one look at his frosting-covered bride and started laughing hysterically. "This isn't funny," Robin screamed, white cake smeared across her face. "Actually," Ellis wiped tears from his eyes, "it really is. This whole thing is hilarious. The wedding, the lies, the bankruptcy. God, what were we thinking?" Robin's expression shifted from anger to horror. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Ellis stepped back, removing his wedding ring, "I'm not spending my life paying for your delusions. We're done." But we're married." "For about 3 more hours," Ellis's father interjected. "I've already called our lawyer. This marriage is getting annulled faster than you can say bankruptcy fraud." The music thumped in the background as staff continued dismantling the reception. I watched it all with a strange sense of calm, like watching a movie I'd seen before. "Freya," my mother tried one last time, "please, we can fix this." "No, Mom, we can't, because this isn't about the money anymore. It's about respect, and you can't fix something that was never there to begin with." Security approached. "Ma'am, we need to clear the premises." I nodded, then turned to the DJ. "Kill the music." The song cut off mid-chorus, leaving only the sounds of sobbing, Robin, arguing, Ellis's family, and the click-click-click of Bella's camera. "I hope you're happy," my father said quietly. "You've torn this family apart." "No, Dad. I just stopped letting it tear me apart instead." As security escorted everyone out, I stayed behind with Vada, watching the staff restore the venue to its empty state. It was like the wedding had never happened, except for the videos already going viral, the gossip spreading through social circles, and the look of utter defeat on my family's faces. "How do you feel?" Vada asked, helping me gather my things. I considered the question as I watched Robin being practically carried out by her bridesmaids, my parents trailing behind like lost puppies, Ellis and his family having their own dramatic confrontation by the valet stand. I paused, searching for the right word. "Free?" Craig appeared with my coat. "Miss Thornton, everything's been handled according to your instructions. The venue is clear." "Thank you, Craig, for everything." He smiled. Sometimes karma needs a little help with timing. As we walked out into the warm evening air, I heard Robin's final wail of despair echoing across the parking lot. But for the first time in my life, I didn't rush to fix her problems, didn't offer my savings as a solution, didn't sacrifice my peace for her happiness. Instead, I got into my car, turned on the radio, and drove away from the ruins of my sister's perfect day, straight towards the first day of my own life. My phone buzzed constantly as I packed my suitcase, but I only answered Vada's texts. The others, Mom's guilt trips, Dad's weak attempts at reconciliation, Robin's alternating threats and tearful pleas could wait forever. "You've gone viral," Vada texted. "Bella's video hit 50,000 views. People are calling you their hero." I zipped up my carry-on, checking my flight details one last time. First-class ticket to Reykjavik, paid for with what remained of my savings, my first truly selfish purchase. The doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. "Go away, Mom," I called through the door. "It's not Mom." Ellis's voice surprised me. "Can we talk?" I opened the door cautiously. He looked terrible, unshaven, tired, wearing the same clothes from the wedding disaster 3 days ago. "What do you want?" "To say thank you." He ran a hand through his messy hair. "You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." I leaned against the doorframe. The bankruptcy wasn't enough of a warning sign? I thought I could fix things. That's what Robin does to you. Makes you believe in her version of reality." He laughed hollowly. "The wedding disaster woke me up." "The annulment went through?" "This morning. My family's lawyers moved fast." He shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, about your money. Keep it. Consider it the price of learning who Robin really is." My phone buzzed again. A text from Bella. "OMG, girl, you're trending. Also, Robin just got fired from her job after her boss saw the video. Karma is real." "She'll never forgive you," Ellis said, reading my expression. "None of them will." "Good thing I stopped needing their forgiveness." He nodded, understanding. "Where will you go?" "Iceland, northern lights, glaciers, and absolutely no family drama." "Smart." He turned to leave, then paused. "Your sister?" "She's been telling everyone you're mentally unstable, that you've always been jealous of her. Your parents are backing up her story." I smiled. Let them. The video speaks for itself. After he left, I called Vada. "Want to drive me to the airport?" "Already outside. But check your email first. You've got some interesting messages." I opened my inbox. 3 new emails caught my attention. First, from my company's HR. "In light of recent events, we're concerned about your family's access to sensitive financial information. Would you consider a transfer to our London office?" Second, from a women's magazine. "Your story resonates with thousands of readers. We'd love to interview you about standing up to toxic family dynamics." Third, from Jeffrey. "The venue industry talks. Your sister and ex-future brother-in-law have been blacklisted from every major event space in the tri-state area. Thought you'd want to know." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Vada. "Ready to escape?" "Almost." I opened one last message, a group text from my mother to the extended family. "Please keep Freya in your prayers. She's clearly suffering from some kind of breakdown. We're devastated by her actions, but trying to forgive her." I typed a reply. "Dear family, I'm not having a breakdown. I'm having a breakthrough. Don't pray for me. I'm finally free. P.S. Here's the link to Bella's video in case you want to see what really happened." "Savage!" Vada grinned, reading over my shoulder. "Now can we go? Your flight leaves in 2 hours." As we drove to the airport, my phone exploded with reactions from relatives watching the video. Most were shocked. Some were supportive. A few shared their own stories of Robin's manipulations. "They're all talking about you," Vada said. "For once they're seeing the real me, not Robin's invisible sister, not Mom and Dad's ATM, just me." At the terminal, Vada hugged me tight. "What happens when you come back?" "I'll figure it out, but it'll be on my terms this time." My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Robin. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything." I typed back. "No, I just stopped letting you destroy me. Enjoy the viral fame. You always wanted to be famous, right?" Then I turned off my phone, handed my ticket to the gate agent, and walked toward my future without looking back. Because that's the thing about being the family doormat. You're only one until you stand up. And once you stand up, you realize you never needed their approval in the first place. The last thing I saw before boarding was a notification from Vada. "Your story just hit national news." Title: "Woman turned sister's dream wedding into karma's perfect storm. You're officially legendary." I smiled, settled into my first-class seat, and ordered champagne. After all, some things are worth celebrating, like the day you finally stopped setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. "Where to?" the flight attendant asked. "To my new life," I replied, "and make it a double."
The last person I expected to betray me was my own sister. But there she sat at Grandma's funeral, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief while I gripped the wooden pew so hard my knuckles turned white. I'm Serenity, and this is how my family fell apart. "She looks peaceful," my mother Patricia whispered, squeezing my hand. I nodded, unable to speak. Grandma Paisley had been more than just a grandmother to me. She was my confidant, my shelter during storms, the one person who truly understood me. The church was packed with familiar faces, all wearing appropriately somber expressions. My sister Madeline sat in the front row beside our father, her designer dress a stark contrast to my simple black outfit. She'd always been the flashy one, while I preferred substance over style. "Would anyone like to share a few words?" the minister asked. I stood up, my legs shaking. "Grandma taught me that wealth isn't about money," I began, my voice cracking. "It's about the richness of relationships, about treating family like the treasure it is." Madeline shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away. After the service, we gathered at Bryce's law office for the reading of the will. The family lawyer had known us since we were kids, but today his familiar smile seemed strained. "Before we begin," Bryce said, adjusting his glasses, "I want to remind everyone that Paisley was very specific about her wishes." My father Reuben cleared his throat impatiently. "Let's get on with it, shall we?" Bryce began reading, and with each word, my world tilted further off its axis. The family home, to Madeline. The investment portfolio, to Madeline. The vintage car collection, to Madeline. My heart raced as I waited for my portion, but when it came, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "To Serenity," Bryce read, his voice hesitant. "I leave the outstanding debts on the following accounts." "What?" I interrupted, standing up. "That can't be right. There must be some mistake." Madeline's lips curved into a slight smile. "Grandma knew what she was doing, sis. She always said you were good with money. I'm sure you'll handle those debts just fine." "Show me the documents," I demanded, reaching for the papers in Bryce's hands. My father stood up, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. "Serenity, sit down. You're making a scene." "Making a scene?" I laughed incredulously. "Grandma would never saddle me with debts while giving everything to Madeline. She always preached about fairness and family values." "People change," Madeline said smoothly. "Maybe she just saw things differently toward the end." My mother wrung her hands. "Darling, please, let's not fight about this." I turned to Bryce. "When was this will dated?" He shuffled through the papers. 3 months ago." 3 months? I shook my head. "I was with her every weekend. She never mentioned changing her will." "Because she didn't need to explain herself to you," Madeline snapped, standing up. "Face it, Serenity, you're not as special as you think you are." The room fell silent. I looked around at their faces. Madeline's smug satisfaction, my father's indifference, my mother's discomfort, and Bryce's careful neutrality. Something was very wrong here. "I want copies of everything," I said finally, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "Every document, every amendment, every signature." "Of course," Bryce replied too quickly. "I'll have them sent to you." As we filed out of the office, Madeline caught up with me in the hallway. "Don't make this ugly, Serenity. Just accept it and move on." I turned to face her. "You know what's strange, Madeline? Last time I visited Grandma, she told me she had something important to tell me. But when I came back the next day, you were there, and she seemed different, almost afraid." Madeline's smile faltered for just a second. "You're imagining things." "Am I? Because those debts you're so happy to see me inherit? They're not Grandma's style. She was meticulous about money. Something doesn't add up." "Let it go," she hissed, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my arm. "You'll only embarrass yourself." I pulled away from her grip. "You know what Grandma used to say about karma, Madeline? It always comes full circle." As I walked away, I could feel her eyes burning into my back. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to get to the bottom of this. Grandma had taught me that family was everything, but she'd also taught me that sometimes the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt you the most. And I had a feeling I was about to learn exactly what she meant by that. The stack of papers from Bryce's office sat on my kitchen table, like a ticking bomb. 3 days after the will reading, and I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I picked up my phone and dialed Enzo, my closest friend since college. "I need your financial expertise," I said when he answered. "Can you come over?" "Give me 20 minutes and coffee better be ready," he replied. While waiting for Enzo, I spread out the documents. Bank statements, loan agreements, property deeds, all of them telling a story that didn't match the grandmother I knew. Enzo arrived with his laptop tucked under his arm. "All right, show me what we're dealing with." "Look at these debt statements," I said, pushing several papers toward him. "They're all dated within the last 4 months." He adjusted his glasses, scanning the documents. "These interest rates are insane. No one in their right mind would agree to these terms." "Exactly. Grandma was sharp as a tack when it came to money. She wouldn't touch these loans with a 10-foot pole." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Bryce, looking uncomfortable in his casual weekend clothes. "I got your messages," he said, stepping inside. "Serenity, I understand you're upset, but did you personally witness Grandma signing these documents?" I interrupted, holding up the loan papers. He hesitated. "Well, no. Madeline brought them to me already signed." "Madeline!" Enzo and I exchanged glances. "She said your grandmother was feeling under the weather and had asked her to handle the paperwork." I slammed my hand on the table. "And you didn't think to verify this with Grandma directly?" "I've known your family for years," Bryce defended. "I had no reason to doubt." "No reason?" I laughed bitterly. "Show me Grandma's signature." Enzo pulled out his laptop. "I have photos of her birthday cards from the last 5 years. Let's compare." As we laid out the documents side by side, the truth became glaringly obvious. The signatures on the recent papers were close, but not identical to Grandma's usual flowing script. "Someone forged these," I whispered, my hands shaking. "Bryce, you have to help me fix this." He ran his hands through his hair. "Even if what you're saying is true, proving it won't be easy. Madeline has already transferred most of the assets." "I don't care how hard it is," I snapped. "This isn't just about money. This is about—" The front door burst open, and Madeline stormed in, our parents trailing behind her. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, glaring at Bryce. "Why are you showing her confidential documents?" As a beneficiary, she has every right to review them," Bryce replied, standing his ground. Our father stepped forward. "Enough of this nonsense, Serenity. You're just jealous of your sister's inheritance." "Jealous?" I grabbed the signature comparisons. "Look at these, Dad. Really look at them." "I won't be part of your conspiracy theories," he said, turning away. But our mother took the papers, her hands trembling slightly as she studied them. "These don't look quite right." "Mom, please," Madeline said, her voice honey-sweet. "Don't let her manipulate you. We all know how dramatic Serenity can be." I was about to respond when something caught my eye, a small notebook falling from Madeline's oversized purse. I recognized it immediately, Grandma's daily planner. "Why do you have that?" I asked, pointing to the notebook. Madeline snatched it up quickly. "I'm clearing out her things, obviously. Without me?" I moved closer. "That's interesting, because Grandma always said her planner was private. She wrote everything in there, including notes about her financial decisions." For the first time, I saw real fear flash across Madeline's face. "Give me the notebook," I demanded. "This is ridiculous," she said, backing away. "I'm leaving." But as she turned, Enzo stepped between her and the door. The notebook slipped from her grasp, landing open on the floor. As I picked it up, a loose page fluttered out, a handwritten note in Grandma's unmistakable handwriting. "My dearest Serenity, if you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong. Don't trust the papers. The truth is in the numbers, and the numbers never lie. Look deeper, my girl. You always were the one who could see through the smoke and mirrors. Love, Grandma." The room fell silent. I looked up from the note to find everyone staring at me, Madeline with barely concealed panic, our parents with growing uncertainty, Bryce with dawning realization, and Enzo with quiet determination. "Well," I said, tucking the note safely away, "looks like Grandma left me an inheritance after all. The truth." And suddenly, I knew exactly what I had to do next. After everyone left, Enzo and I spent hours poring over Grandma's planner. Each page revealed more suspicious activity in the months leading up to her death. Look at these bank visits. Enzo pointed to several entries. 3 times in 1 week, all with Madeline present. Grandma never went to the bank that often, I said, flipping through the pages. She did everything online or had them come to her. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Your father's furious. Please drop this before you tear the family apart. I ignored it and turned to a page marked with a small star. April 15th, I read aloud. Meeting with BT, must discuss M's spending. Something isn't right. BT? Enzo asked. Bryce Thornton, and M must be Madeline. I grabbed my keys. We need to go to Grandma's house. Now? It's almost midnight. I still have a key, and Madeline won't be there until tomorrow to continue clearing things out. 20 minutes later, we crept through Grandma's dark house. Everything felt different, colder, emptier. Madeline had already stripped away most of the personal touches that made it home. Where should we start? Enzo whispered. Her study. She spent most of her time there. The study was largely untouched, probably because Madeline considered account books and old papers worthless compared to jewelry and antiques. I went straight to the desk while Enzo checked the filing cabinet. These bank statements don't match the ones Bryce showed us, he said, pulling out a folder. Keep looking, there has to be more. I ran my hands along the underside of the desk, remembering how Grandma used to hide special treats there for me as a child. My fingers caught on something, a small key taped beneath the drawer. Enzo, help me move this painting. Behind Grandma's favorite landscape was a wall safe I'd never known existed. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a thick manila envelope labeled Insurance and a USB drive. I opened the envelope first, revealing dozens of documents, original bank statements, investment records, and photographs. Holy shit, Enzo breathed, looking over my shoulder. These show completely different numbers than what was in the will. Look at this, I said, pointing to a series of transfers. Large sums moving from Grandma's accounts to offshore banks, all authorized by Madeline using power of attorney. When did she get power of attorney? According to this, 2 months before Grandma died. But that's impossible. Grandma would have told me. A floorboard creaked behind us. We spun around to find my mother standing in the doorway, her face pale in the dim light. Mom, what are you doing here? I followed you, she admitted. I needed to see for myself what you'd find. She stepped closer, picking up one of the bank statements. Your grandmother came to me about Madeline's spending. I didn't want to believe it. Why didn't you say anything? Because your father wouldn't hear a word against her. And then Paisley got sick so suddenly. Her voice trailed off. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean, suddenly? She was fine one day, then confused and weak the next. The doctor said it was just age, but... She pulled something from her pocket, a small notebook different from the planner. I found this in her bedside table last week. I've been afraid to open it. I took the notebook with trembling hands. Inside, Grandma's usually neat handwriting was shaky but clear. Something's wrong. Pills taste strange. M brings them daily now. Can't think straight. Must warn Serenity. Jesus, Enzo muttered. We need to call the police, I said, but Mom grabbed my arm. Wait, let me talk to your father first. Maybe if he sees all this evidence. Evidence of what? We all jumped. Madeline stood in the doorway, her face twisted with rage. What are you doing here? I demanded. I had a feeling you'd try something like this, she snarled, stepping into the room. Always the perfect granddaughter, always so self-righteous. Did you poison her? The words burst out before I could stop them. Madeline's laugh was hollow. Prove it. Prove any of it. Who do you think they'll believe? The responsible eldest daughter, who took care of everything, or the jealous sister who can't accept she was left nothing? They'll believe the evidence, I said, clutching the envelope and notebook. What evidence? In one swift motion, Madeline grabbed the papers and darted toward the study's fireplace. But Enzo was faster. He tackled her before she could reach it, sending papers flying everywhere. Mom screamed. I dove for the USB drive that had skittered under the desk. "Got it!" I yelled, holding it up. Madeline went still, her face draining of color. She knew as well as I did. In the digital age, electronic records were forever. "Game over, sis," I said quietly. Grandma made sure of that. The police station's fluorescent lights made everything feel surreal. Detective Morris sat across from me, reviewing the documents and USB contents we discovered. "This is quite extensive," she said, looking up from her computer. "Your grandmother was thorough." "She kept records of everything," I replied. "The USB drive has screenshots of all the unauthorized transfers Madeline made." In the next room, through the window, I could see Madeline being questioned by another detective. She'd stopped crying an hour ago and now just sat there, staring blankly ahead. "We'll need to verify these signatures with a forensics expert," Detective Morris continued, "but the evidence of financial fraud is clear. The medical allegations, however—" "Check her phone records," Mom interrupted from beside me. She hadn't stopped shaking since we arrived. She was calling different doctors, getting multiple prescriptions. "We're already looking into that." The detective made another note. "The tox screen from your mother's autopsy should—" "Autopsy?" I sat up straighter. "But I thought—" "Given the new evidence, we've ordered one." She closed her notebook. "We'll need statements from all of you, including Mr. Thornton." As if on cue, Bryce burst into the room, looking disheveled. "I came as soon as I could. I've brought something you need to see." He pulled out a thick envelope sealed with wax, an old-fashioned touch that was so typically Grandma. "Paisley gave this to me 6 months ago," he explained, breaking the seal. "She made me promise to open it only if there was ever any dispute over her will." Inside was another will, dated before the one that had caused all this trouble. But it wasn't just a simple division of assets. As Bryce read it aloud, I realized Grandma had seen this coming. "In the event that any beneficiary attempts to alter, forge, or otherwise manipulate this will or my assets," he read, "all benefits shall be immediately forfeit and transferred to the wronged party." "She knew," I whispered. "She knew someone might try something like this." "There's more," Bryce said. "A letter, addressed to you, Serenity." With trembling hands, I opened it. "My dearest granddaughter, if you're reading this, my worst fears have come true. I've watched Madeline's greed grow over the years, seen how your father enabled it, how your mother turned a blind eye. I knew they might try to take advantage after I was gone, but I also knew you would fight for the truth. You're stronger than all of them combined, my dear. That's why I left you the most important inheritance of all, the ability to expose their lies. In my bedroom, behind the loose panel in my closet, you'll find a locked box. The key is taped inside this envelope. What's inside will ensure justice is served. All my love, Grandma." Sure enough, a small key fell from the envelope. "I need to go to the house," I told Detective Morris. "I'll send officers with you." The drive back felt endless. When we finally reached Grandma's house, I went straight to her closet. The panel came loose easily, revealing a metal box that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Madeline meeting with shady-looking men in parking lots, bank statements showing massive gambling debts, letters from debt collectors, and most damning of all, a video recording of Madeline arguing with Grandma about money, becoming increasingly threatening. "I took that video secretly," Mom said quietly from behind me. "The day before Paisley got sick. I was too scared to show anyone. I'm so sorry, Serenity." The detective took the box and its contents as evidence. As we walked back downstairs, I noticed something else. A framed photo I'd never seen before. It showed Grandma and me in her garden, both laughing at something off camera. On the back, she'd written, "To Serenity, remember that truth, like flowers, needs time to bloom. But once it does, nothing can stop it from reaching the light." My phone buzzed. A text from Enzo. "Just heard from the station. Madeline confessed to the fraud. They're still investigating the medical stuff." I showed the message to Mom, who burst into tears. "What about your father?" she asked. "He'll have to face the truth too," I said. "We all will." Looking around the house, my house now, according to the real will, I felt Grandma's presence everywhere. She'd turned her own death into one final lesson about justice, truth, and consequences, and she'd trusted me to see it through. The next morning, I sat in Bryce's office, watching him sort through the mountain of paperwork needed to reverse Madeline's financial damage. "The bank's frozen all the transferred assets," he said, pushing his glasses up. "But some of the money's already gone. Gambling debts, luxury purchases, you name it." "How much?" "Nearly $2 million. He handed me a spreadsheet. She was burning through it like water. My phone buzzed. Another message from Dad. "We need to talk. Come to the house." "I have to go," I told Bryce, standing up. "My father finally wants to face this." "Want me to come with you?" "No. This is something I need to do alone." The drive to my parents' house felt like heading into battle. Dad was waiting on the porch, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Your sister's being held without bail," he said as I approached. "Did you have to involve the police?" Are you serious?" I stopped at the bottom of the steps. "She forged documents, stole millions, and might have poisoned Grandma." "We don't know that for sure." "The autopsy results came back this morning," I said, watching his face carefully. "They found elevated levels of prescription medications in her system, medications Madeline was getting from multiple doctors." He sank into a chair, head in his hands. "Where did I go wrong with her? Maybe when you taught her she could do no wrong? When you dismissed every red flag as jealousy on my part?" "I never meant to." "To what, Dad? To favor her? To ignore her problems until they turned criminal? To help her steal my inheritance?" He looked up sharply. "I didn't know about any of that." "But you suspected something wasn't right," I pressed. "Mom told me she tried to warn you about Madeline's spending." "I thought she was just being dramatic, like—" He trailed off. "Like me?" I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, that's what Madeline always said too. The dramatic little sister, always making a fuss over nothing." Mom appeared in the doorway. "The detective called. They want us to come in again. They found something in Madeline's apartment." At the police station, Detective Morris led us to an interview room. On the table sat a small box of prescription bottles, all with different doctors' names. "We also found this," she said, sliding over a notebook. "Your daughter's detailed records of the medications she was giving your mother, along with their effects." Dad picked up the notebook with trembling hands. I watched as he read, his face growing paler with each page. "She tracked everything," Detective Morris continued. "When your mother was most confused, when she was too weak to resist signing documents, when she couldn't remember conversations from one day to the next." "Stop," Dad whispered. "Please." "No," I said firmly. "You need to hear this. You need to understand what your golden child did while you were busy defending her." "Ms. Morris," a young officer interrupted, poking his head in. "The sister's asking to speak to them." Madeline sat in an interview room, her designer clothes replaced by prison orange. Her makeup-free face made her look younger, more like the sister I remembered from childhood. "I'm sorry," she said as soon as we entered. "I never meant for it to go this far." "Really?" I crossed my arms. "Which part? The theft or the murder?" "I didn't murder her," Madeline protested. I needed her to be confused enough to sign the papers. The doctors said those medications were safe." "In normal doses," Mom snapped. "Not in the combinations you were giving her." I was desperate. The gambling debts kept growing, and I knew Grandma would never just give me the money. "So, you killed her," Dad said quietly. It wasn't a question. Madeline burst into tears. "Daddy, please, you have to help me." But for the first time in her life, our father turned away from her pleas. "No, Madeline, you did this to yourself." As we left the station, Mom took my hand. "The annual family reunion is next week. Should we cancel it?" I thought about it. The whole extended family would be there, all the aunts and uncles and cousins who'd watched Madeline's rise and my supposed fall from grace. "No," I decided. "Let's have it at Grandma's house. My house now. It's time everyone knew the truth." Are you sure? Dad asked. It'll be uncomfortable. Grandma always said sunlight is the best disinfectant, I replied. And this family needs a good cleaning. Looking at my parents, I could see they finally understood. The truth might hurt, but lies destroy. And our family had been destroyed by lies for long enough. The day of the family reunion arrived with a mix of tension and anticipation. I'd spent the morning setting up Grandma's house, now my house, exactly as she would have wanted it. Enzo helped me arrange chairs in the living room, while Mom prepared food in the kitchen. Are you ready for this? Enzo asked, adjusting a photo of Grandma on the mantel. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Aunt Rachel burst in, followed by her husband and 3 kids. Serenity! We've heard such strange rumors. Is it true about Madeline? More relatives arrived in quick succession, each carrying dishes and whispered questions. Uncle Pete cornered me by the stairs. Someone said Madeline's in jail? That can't be right. Everyone, please take a seat, I called out over the growing murmur. I'll explain everything. They gathered in the living room, perching on chairs and sofas, some standing against the walls. Bryce arrived last, carrying a briefcase full of documents. Thank you all for coming, I began, standing before them. I know there have been rumors and questions about what's happened to our family recently. Where's Madeline? Cousin Sarah interrupted. Madeline is in custody, I said firmly, awaiting trial for fraud, forgery, and potential manslaughter charges in connection with Grandma's death. The room erupted in gasps and exclamations. That's impossible! Aunt Rachel stood up. Madeline adored Paisley. Did she? I clicked on the projector we'd set up, displaying the forged documents. Or did she adore Grandma's money? Bryce stepped forward, explaining the financial evidence, while I distributed copies of the bank statements and fraud documentation. The room grew quieter with each revelation. But why? Uncle Pete asked, his voice breaking. She had everything. Gambling debts, Mom said from the corner. She was in deep with some dangerous people. I switched the projection to the medical records. When Grandma discovered the extent of Madeline's theft, she planned to change her will. That's when Madeline started manipulating her medications. No, Aunt Rachel whispered, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Yes, Dad spoke up suddenly. He'd been silent until now. I enabled her. We all did. We saw what we wanted to see. I played the video Mom had taken. Madeline screaming at Grandma about money, making threats. The room fell silent, except for a few muffled sobs. There's more, I said, switching to the photos from the locked box. Grandma documented everything. She knew someone might try to take advantage of her, so she left evidence everywhere. But why didn't she stop it? Cousin Sarah asked. Because she was playing a longer game, I explained, revealing the conditional will. She set up a trap, one that would expose the truth and ensure justice was served. I distributed copies of Grandma's final letter, watching as they read her words about family, truth, and consequences. The real tragedy, I continued, isn't just what happened to Grandma. It's that we created an environment where Madeline thought she could get away with this. We excused her behavior, ignored the red flags, and dismissed anyone who questioned her. Like we dismissed you? Aunt Rachel said quietly. Yes. I took a deep breath. But Grandma taught me that family isn't just about blind loyalty. It's about holding each other accountable, about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. What happens now? Uncle Pete asked. Madeline will face trial. The evidence is overwhelming. I gestured to Bryce, who nodded confirmation. As for the rest of us, we need to rebuild. Not just our relationships, but our understanding of what family really means. Mom stepped forward, holding Grandma's favorite tea set. Paisley always said that broken things can be mended if you're willing to see the cracks clearly and do the work to fix them. We spent the next few hours talking, really talking, about everything that had happened. There were tears, angry outbursts, and finally, moments of genuine understanding. As the sun set, casting long shadows through Grandma's beloved garden windows, Aunt Rachel approached me. You know, she said, you remind me so much of Paisley. Not just your looks, but your strength. She would be proud of you. Looking around the room at my family, broken but beginning to heal, I felt Grandma's presence strongly. "She once told me," I said, touching the locket she'd given me, "that the truth is like a sunrise. No matter how dark things get, it always finds its way to the light." And in that moment, watching my family face our painful truth together, I knew she was right. The courthouse loomed before me, its stone steps already crowded with reporters. 3 months had passed since the family reunion, and today was Madeline's sentencing. "Ready?" Enzo squeezed my hand as we climbed the steps. Inside, the courtroom filled quickly. My parents sat in the row behind me, Mom clutching Dad's arm. Several family members had come too, including Aunt Rachel and Uncle Pete. Madeline entered in handcuffs, looking nothing like the polished sister I remembered. Her eyes met mine briefly, before darting away. "All rise," the bailiff called out. Judge Harrison reviewed the papers before her. "In the matter of financial fraud, forgery, and second-degree manslaughter, the defendant has entered a guilty plea. Before I pass sentence, would the victim's family like to make a statement?" I stood, my prepared speech forgotten as I faced my sister. "Madeline," I began, my voice steady, "I've spent months trying to understand why. Why you chose money over family, why you hurt the person who loved you most. But I realized something. Understanding why won't change what happened." She started crying silently. "Grandma used to say that our choices shape who we become. You chose greed over love, deception over truth, and in the end, you chose to silence the one person who might have helped you." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Sorry doesn't bring her back. Sorry doesn't erase the fact that you watched her deteriorate, knowing you were causing it. Sorry doesn't rebuild our family's trust." Dad made a choked sound behind me. "But Grandma also taught me about forgiveness," I continued. "Not the kind that excuses actions, but the kind that frees us from hatred. So I forgive you, Madeline, not for you, but for me, because I refuse to let your choices poison my heart the way they poisoned yours." The judge nodded as I sat down. "Would the defendant like to speak?" Madeline stood shakily. "I destroyed everything that mattered, because I couldn't see what really mattered. My sister talks about choices. I made all the wrong ones. I killed the person who loved me most, betrayed my family, and hurt the sister who always tried to protect me." She turned to face me. "You were right all along, Serenity, about everything. I just hope someday you can believe how sorry I am." Judge Harrison cleared her throat. "Based on the plea agreement and the severity of these crimes, I sentence you to 15 years in state prison, with possibility of parole after 10 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution of all stolen funds." The gavel struck with finality. As they led Madeline away, Mom broke down. Dad held her, his own eyes wet with tears. "Wait!" Madeline called out suddenly. "Serenity, there's something in my apartment, in the back of my closet, a box. It belongs to you." That evening, the police escort let me into Madeline's apartment. In her closet, behind designer shoes now destined for auction, I found an old shoebox. Inside were childhood photos, birthday cards, and a letter from Grandma dated just weeks before her death. "My dearest Madeline," it read, "I see the path you're on, and it breaks my heart. Money is just paper, but family is forever. It's not too late to change course. Your sister would help you if you'd only ask. Love, Grandma." Madeline had never asked. Back home, I found Mom sitting in Grandma's garden. My garden now. "I found this," she said, holding up a small journal. "Paisley's gardening notes. Look what she wrote about her roses." I read the passage. "Like family, roses need both sunshine and rain to grow strong. Too much of either will kill them. The trick is finding balance, knowing when to prune and when to protect." "She left us so many messages," Mom said softly. "We just weren't listening." "We're listening now." Dad appeared in the doorway. "The detective called. They've traced most of the missing money. Once the accounts are unfrozen, everything will be restored to you." "Ah, it was never about the money," I said, touching a rose petal. "It was about truth, justice, family." Your grandmother knew that, he replied. She knew you'd understand it too. As the sun set over the garden, I thought about choices and consequences, about forgiveness and justice. Madeline would spend years paying for her choices, but in a way, we all would. The difference was that while she faced her consequences alone in a cell, we would face ours together, as a family. Because that's what Grandma had wanted all along, not for us to be perfect, but for us to be honest. Not for us to avoid pain, but to face it together. Not for us to be unbreakable, but to know how to rebuild when we break. And somehow, in her wisdom, she'd made sure we'd learn these lessons, even after she was gone. The autumn breeze scattered leaves across Grandma's garden as I unlocked her study, my study now. Enzo followed me in, carrying boxes of newly organized financial records. Last batch, he said, setting them down. Everything's finally sorted. I ran my hand along the polished desk where Grandma used to write her letters. Hard to believe it's all settled. The doorbell rang. Mom and Dad arrived with Uncle Pete and Aunt Rachel, followed by Bryce carrying his briefcase. Ready to do this? Bryce asked, spreading documents across the desk. Almost. I opened the safe behind the painting, removing Grandma's final letter, the one I'd been saving for this moment. Everyone settled into chairs as I began to read. To my beloved family, if you're reading this, the truth has finally come to light. The path to this moment has been painful, but necessary. You see, I didn't just leave an inheritance of money and property. I left you something far more valuable, the chance to rebuild what greed and secrets had destroyed. Serenity, my brave girl. You were never meant to inherit debt. You were meant to inherit truth. Your sister's actions forced you to fight for justice, and in doing so, you showed everyone what real family loyalty means. To my daughter, Patricia, and son-in-law, Reuben, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning and growing stronger. Your journey isn't over, it's just beginning. The money recovered from Madeline's fraud isn't meant to divide you further. Instead, I've arranged for it to be placed in a family trust with specific conditions. I paused, looking at Bryce, who nodded and pulled out additional papers. The trust, he explained, can only be accessed for 3 purposes: education, medical care, or starting ethical businesses. All decisions must be unanimous among the trustees: Serenity, Patricia, and Rachel. She made sure we'd have to work together, Aunt Rachel said softly. There's more, I continued reading. Money divided us once. Let it unite you now. The house isn't just Serenity's property, it's our family's anchor. Use it. Fill it with love and laughter again. Learn from our mistakes. And remember, the garden needs tending, just like relationships do. Some plants will die, others will bloom unexpectedly. The key is never giving up on growth. All my love, Paisley. Dad cleared his throat. I visited Madeline yesterday. We all turned to look at him. She's enrolled in the prison's financial counseling program, teaching other inmates about gambling addiction. He paused. She asked about you, Serenity. I know, I said. She writes to me every week. I haven't answered yet, but I will, when it feels right. Mom touched the garden roses visible through the window. Paisley would be proud of how you've maintained her garden. Actually, I said, I've been thinking about that. I pulled out a blueprint. What if we turned part of the grounds into a community garden, a place where families can grow things together, learn from each other? The trust could fund it, Aunt Rachel suggested. It's educational, after all. We could dedicate it to Paisley, Uncle Pete added. Her legacy of growing things, plants and people. As they discussed details, I walked to the window. The garden stretched before me, some plants fading with the season, others stubbornly blooming despite the chill. Like us, damaged but resilient, changing but alive. Serenity? Enzo appeared beside me. They're ready to sign the trust documents. I turned back to my family, not perfect, but healing. Mom and Dad holding hands, stronger in their rebuilt marriage. Aunt Rachel and Uncle Pete contributing ideas for the community garden. Bryce organizing papers with his usual precision. The empty chair where Madeline should have been felt less accusatory now, more like a reminder that absence doesn't mean ending. Her story, like ours, was still being written. I sat at Grandma's desk, my desk, and picked up the pen. Before we sign, I said, I want us to promise something, not just to follow the trust's rules, but to honor its spirit. To remember that our worth isn't in our bank accounts, but in how we treat each other. To understand that family isn't about perfection, it's about connection. One by one, they nodded. Then let's begin again, I said, signing my name where Bryce indicated. Not as victims or villains, but as people who learned the hard way that love is more valuable than money. As the others signed, I glanced at Grandma's photo on the wall. She was smiling that knowing smile of hers, the one that said she understood everything long before we did. And finally, so did we.
The first sign something was wrong came from my cat. Shadow never hisses at nothing, and that morning she sat frozen in my hallway, fur raised, eyes fixed on what looked like an innocent smoke detector. I'm Lexus, and I used to think I was just being paranoid. Growing up with a sister like Ivy does that to you. Makes you second-guess everything. Wonder if you're the crazy one. But Shadow knew better than I did. Come look at this, I said into my phone, pacing beneath the suspicious device. My best friend Zane's voice crackled through the speaker. The lights blinking weird? Yeah, and Shadow's acting strange. Could you just, I don't know, swing by after work? I know it sounds stupid. It's not stupid, Zane cut me off. I'll be there in an hour. I tried to focus on work, but my eyes kept drifting to that blinking light. Years of Ivy's mind games had taught me to trust my instincts. Like the time my diary mysteriously ended up in my high school's gossip blog, or when my college application essays accidentally got deleted from the family computer. The doorbell rang at 6:15. Zane didn't waste time with pleasantries, pulling out a small device that looked like a TV remote. RF detector, he explained, sweeping it around the room. The device stayed quiet until we reached the smoke detector. Then it screamed. Holy shit, I whispered as Zane carefully removed the cover. Inside, nested among the actual smoke detector components, was a tiny camera. There might be more, he said grimly. Let me check the whole place. We found 3 more. One in my bedroom disguised as a wall outlet, another in my home office inside a phone charger, and one in my living room hidden in a decorative wall clock. The clock had been a housewarming gift. From Ivy. My hands shook as I sank onto my couch. I knew she was obsessed with controlling my life, but this? We should call the police, Zane said, laying out the cameras on my coffee table. I laughed bitterly. And tell them what? That my perfect, successful sister, the one who runs charity galas and has mom and dad wrapped around her finger, is secretly spying on me? They'll think I'm crazy. Lexus. Zane sat beside me. This is illegal. It's stalking. You don't know Ivy like I do. She'll twist it somehow, make me look paranoid. She always does. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. A text from Ivy? Coming to Mom and Dad's for dinner tomorrow night? Mom's making your favorite. I showed Zane the text. See, she's watching right now, probably laughing about how long it took me to figure it out. Then let's give her something to watch, Zane said, a slow smile spreading across his face. You know those cameras are two-way, right? They store footage somewhere. If we trace the signal, I sat up straighter. We could find out what else she's recording, who else she's watching. Exactly. Zane pulled out his laptop, and then we can beat her at her own game. I thought about all the years of subtle manipulation, the way Ivy would undermine my confidence while maintaining her angelic public image, the accidental revelations of my secrets, the sabotaged relationships, the constant feeling of being watched and judged. Do it, I said. Show me how to fight back. As Zane typed away, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my cousin Jayla. "Hey, need to talk to you about Ivy. It's important." I showed Zane the message. "Looks like we're not the only ones onto her games." "Perfect timing," he said. "We'll need allies." I glanced at the dismantled cameras on my table, thinking about how long Ivy had been watching me, gathering ammunition for her next move. But this time would be different. This time, I wasn't her helpless little sister anymore. "Tomorrow at dinner," I said, "I'll act normal. Let her think she still has the upper hand." "While we work on turning her surveillance against her," Zane finished. "You know this might get ugly, right?" I thought about Shadow, still glaring at the spot where the first camera had been. Sometimes animals see things more clearly than humans do. They know when something's wrong, when it's time to stop running and start fighting back. "It's been ugly for years," I said. "The difference is, now I'm done playing by her rules." Zane packed up the cameras in an evidence bag, promising to analyze them properly at his place. As he left, he turned back with a serious expression. "Lexus, whatever we find, whatever we do next, are you sure you're ready?" I thought about tomorrow's dinner, about facing Ivy across our mother's table, about finally having proof I wasn't crazy all these years. "I'm ready," I said. "It's time Ivy learned what it feels like to be watched." "Your sister's been busy," Zane said, spinning his laptop around to show me. "These cameras have been streaming to a private server for months. She's got everything categorized by date." I leaned closer, my stomach churning as I scrolled through folder after folder of my private moments. "She's been watching me sleep, having breakfast, working out. The good news is," Zane continued, typing rapidly, "her security isn't great. She probably thought no one would ever find the cameras, let alone trace them back." My cousin Jayla sat on my other side, her face grim. We'd met for coffee earlier, and she'd dropped a bombshell. Ivy had pulled similar stunts with other family members. "Remember when Uncle Mike's business almost went under?" Jayla said, picking at her coffee sleeve. "Those anonymous tips to the IRS? That was Ivy. I found emails about it on her laptop when she asked me to help with her website." "Jesus," I muttered. "Why didn't you say anything?" Would anyone have believed me? Besides, she caught me looking. Threatened to tell everyone about... Jayla paused, swallowing hard. "Let's just say she's good at collecting secrets." Zane's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Well, she's about to learn about karma. Look at this. She's got her own cameras set up in her house, too. Probably to make sure her boyfriend Liam doesn't step out of line. Can you access those feeds?" I asked. "Already done, but we need to be smart about this. If we're going to expose her, we need ironclad evidence that can't be explained away." My phone buzzed. Another text from Ivy. "Missed you at dinner last night. Everything okay, little sis? You seem distant lately." "God, I hate how she does that," I said, acting all concerned while she's literally spying on me. "Perfect," Zane said. "Keep engaging with her. Make her think you're clueless. Meanwhile," he pulled up another window, showing a live feed from Ivy's living room. She was pacing, phone in hand, perfectly put together as always. "We start gathering our own evidence," he finished. Jayla leaned forward. "I can help. She's planning this huge birthday party next month. Rented out the entire rooftop at the Grand. She's going to announce her engagement to Liam." I raised my eyebrows. "Liam proposed?" "Not yet." Jayla smiled wickedly. "But according to her calendar, he will. She's got it all planned out down to the exact minute." "Of course she does," I said. "Everything has to be perfect in Ivy's world, which makes it the perfect time to show everyone who she really is," Zane added. "But we need to be careful. One wrong move and she'll spin it around on you." I watched the feed of Ivy in her living room, remembering all the times she'd made me doubt myself, question my own sanity. "Then we'll be smarter than her. Jayla, can you get me into that party planning committee she's so proud of?" Already on it. She's been begging me to help coordinate. Good. I turned to Zane. How long would it take to put together a video? Something that shows exactly what she's been doing? With all this footage? He gestured at his screen. A week, maybe less, but we need something recent, something she can't dismiss as old or out of context. I pulled out my phone and typed a reply to Ivy. Sorry, been super busy, but I'd love to help with party planning. Jayla mentioned you might need an extra hand? The response was immediate. OMG, yes. Come over tomorrow. We can catch up properly. I showed the others. There's our chance. Zane, can you set me up with something to record? He reached into his bag and pulled out what looked like a normal pendant necklace. Camera and mic, totally undetectable. Just don't get it wet. Perfect. I slipped it on, then turned to Jayla. You're sure about this? She'll come after you too when it all comes out. Jayla's face hardened. Let her try. I'm done being scared of her. Okay then. I looked at the feed one last time, watching my sister arrange flowers in her perfect house, planning her perfect party, completely unaware that her perfect world was about to crumble. Tomorrow, we start gathering ammunition. By the time her birthday party rolls around, she won't know what hit her. Zane finished. I touched the pendant, thinking about all the cameras Ivy had hidden in my home, all the private moments she'd stolen from me. No more hiding, I said. No more playing the victim. Tomorrow we start fighting back. To karma, Jayla raised her coffee cup. To karma, Zane and I echoed. On the screen, Ivy was still arranging her flowers, smiling that perfect smile, probably already planning how to manipulate her next victim. But her time was running out. She just didn't know it yet. Mom, these potatoes are amazing, Ivy gushed, reaching across the dinner table to squeeze our mother's hand. You'll have to give me the recipe for when Liam and I have our own family dinners. I forced myself to keep eating, the pendant feeling heavy against my chest. Through the whole meal, I'd watched Ivy perform her usual routine. The perfect daughter, the successful sister, the bride-to-be who didn't even have a ring yet. Speaking of Liam, Mom said, when are you bringing him around again? We barely see him anymore. A flash of something crossed Ivy's face, so quick I would have missed it if I hadn't been watching for it. Oh, he's just so busy with work, but he'll definitely be at my birthday party. Won't you all be there? Wouldn't miss it, Princess, Dad said, and I caught the slight frown that appeared when Ivy wasn't looking his way. Maybe he was finally starting to see through her act. Lexus has been helping with the planning, Ivy announced. Haven't you, sis? She's been such a wonderful help. The way she emphasized wonderful made my skin crawl. I knew what she was doing, setting up her next move, whatever it was. Just doing what sisters do, I replied, matching her sweet tone. Under the table, my phone buzzed. A text from Zane. Got something. Big. Call me ASAP. Actually, I said, standing up, I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow. But you haven't had dessert, Mom protested. I made your favorite chocolate cake. Let her go, Mom, Ivy said smoothly. Some of us have to work harder than others to get ahead. There it was, the subtle dig, the kind she'd perfected over years. I caught Dad's frown deepening. In the driveway, Jayla caught up with me. Wait, she whispered, pressing a USB drive into my hand. Found this in her home office yesterday. You need to see it. What is it? Evidence. She's been... Jayla stopped as the front door opened. Leaving so soon? Ivy called out, her heels clicking on the pavement. We barely got to talk about the party arrangements. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, gripping the USB drive tightly. Ivy's eyes flickered to my closed fist, then back to my face. Perfect. Oh, and Jayla, thanks for all your help with the planning. You're such a dear cousin. The threat in her voice was clear. As soon as she turned back to the house, Jayla whispered, Be careful with that. She'll know it's missing soon. I drove straight to Zane's place, my heart pounding. He opened the door before I could knock. "You're not gonna believe this," he said, pulling me inside. His living room was a mess of computers and cables. "Remember those emails Jayla mentioned? About Uncle Mike?" "Yeah." That was just the beginning. Look, he pulled up a series of documents on his main screen. "Your sister's been running a whole operation. She finds people's secrets, their weaknesses, and she exploits them. Not just family, colleagues, friends, anyone she thinks might get in her way." I pulled out the USB drive. "Jayla just gave me this, said it was important." Zane plugged it in, and more files populated his screen. "Holy shit," he breathed. "These are her plans, detailed strategies for manipulating people. Look, there's one about you." My stomach lurched as I read the document titled Lexus Containment Strategy. It laid out every insecurity, every weakness she'd identified, every way she planned to keep me under her control. "There's more," Zane said quietly. "She's got something big planned for her birthday party, some kind of announcement that's supposed to destroy you professionally." "How?" "Not sure yet, but—" He stopped as my phone rang. Ivy's name flashed on the screen. "Put it on speaker," Zane mouthed. "Hey, sis," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just wanted to check on you," Ivy said sweetly. "You seemed a bit off at dinner. Is everything okay at work? I heard some rumors." "Everything's fine," I said. "Just busy." "Well, if you need anything. After all, what are big sisters for?" She paused. "Oh, and Lexus? Have you seen my silver USB drive? I seem to have misplaced it." My blood ran cold. "No, sorry, haven't seen it." Well, if you do, let me know right away. It has some sensitive work documents on it." Another pause. "Wouldn't want those falling into the wrong hands." After she hung up, I looked at Zane. "She knows." "Good," he said, already copying the USB's contents. "Let her know. Let her worry, because this time she's not the only one with a plan." I touched the pendant, still recording, and thought about the detailed strategy she'd written about me. "Two can play at containment," I said, "and her birthday party just became ground zero." "Play it again," I said, staring at Zane's computer screen. We'd been reviewing the files from Ivy's USB drive for hours, and each revelation hit harder than the last. Zane clicked play, and Ivy's voice filled the room. "Liam, honey, you know I hate doing this, but those messages to your ex, what would the board think if they saw them? You know how important your reputation is for the merger." "That's straight up blackmail," Jayla said, pacing behind us. "Poor Liam doesn't even realize he's being manipulated into proposing." "It gets worse," Zane said, pulling up another file. "Look at these emails to your boss, Lexus. She's been laying groundwork for months, subtle hints about your mental health issues and family concerns that might affect your work performance." My hands clenched into fists. "That's why I got passed over for the promotion last month. She's been poisoning the well." A knock at the door made us all jump. Zane checked his security camera feed. "It's Liam." "What? Did you tell him to come?" "No, but—" Zane hesitated. "I may have sent him some anonymous screenshots yesterday. Thought he deserved to know what he's getting into." I opened the door to find Liam looking worse than I'd ever seen him. His usually perfect suit was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. "Is it true?" he asked, pushing past me into the apartment. "All of it? The manipulation, the blackmail, the—" He stopped when he saw the screens. "Oh God, it is." "Sit down," Jayla said gently. "There's more you need to see." We showed him everything: the surveillance footage, the emails, the carefully documented plans for their future together. With each revelation, Liam seemed to shrink further into himself. "The proposal next week," he said quietly. "At her birthday party. She's been pushing so hard for it, dropping hints about the perfect ring, the perfect moment. She's got it all scripted, I confirmed, right down to which knee you should bend. I'm such an idiot, he muttered. No, Jayla said firmly. You're a victim, like the rest of us. But now you can help us stop her. Liam looked up. How? Zane outlined our plan for the birthday party. As he spoke, my phone buzzed with a text from Ivy. Found my USB. No worries. See you tomorrow for party planning. She's trying to flush us out, I said. See if we took the bait. Then let's give her a show, Liam said, his voice stronger. I'll keep playing along. Let her think everything's going according to her perfect plan. Are you sure? I asked. She'll make your life hell when this all comes out. She already has. He pulled out his phone and showed us his banking app. She's been siphoning money from my accounts. Small amounts, but it adds up. I thought I was going crazy, not remembering these transactions. Classic gaslighting, Zane muttered, adding the banking records to our evidence file. Another knock at the door. This time it was Dad, looking troubled. I followed you, he admitted as I let him in. After dinner, something felt off. I needed to know. He trailed off as he saw the screens, the evidence of his daughter's manipulation laid bare. Daddy, I started, but he held up a hand. Show me everything, he said. I need to know what my little girl has become. For the next hour, we walked him through it all. The surveillance, the blackmail, the carefully constructed web of lies. He didn't speak, just watched and listened, his face growing harder with each revelation. Finally, he stood up. Your mother can't know, not yet. It would destroy her. She'll have to know eventually, I said. Yes, but not like this, not in pieces. He turned to Liam. The proposal, you'll go through with it? Liam nodded. One last performance. Good, let her have her perfect moment in the spotlight. Dad's voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. It'll make the fall that much harder. As he left, Jayla pulled up the party plans on her tablet. We've got 1 week. Everything has to be perfect. It will be, I said, watching Liam scroll through more evidence of Ivy's betrayal. For once, Ivy's obsession with perfection is going to work against her. Zane started compiling the video we'd play at the party. You know she won't go down without a fight. Good, I said, touching the pendant that was still recording everything. Because neither will we. On the screen, security footage showed Ivy entering her perfect house, probably planning her perfect proposal, completely unaware that her carefully constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. 1 week, 7 days until her perfect world shattered. I couldn't wait. The lighting needs to be softer here, Ivy directed, gesturing at the rooftops pergola. And those flowers, they're the wrong shade of pink. I specifically ordered coral blush, not salmon. I stood beside her, notebook in hand, playing the role of devoted sister while my pendant recorded everything. The party was 2 days away, and Ivy was in full control freak mode. I'll call the florist, I said, making a show of writing it down. Good. Ivy checked her phone. Oh, and make sure they deliver exactly at 3 p.m. Not earlier, not later. The timing has to be perfect. Everything will be perfect, I assured her, catching Jayla's eye across the room. She was arranging place cards, carefully following Ivy's precise instructions. It better be. Ivy lowered her voice. By the way, did you get that issue at work sorted out? The one about the missing client files? My head snapped up. I hadn't told anyone about the files that had mysteriously disappeared from my computer yesterday. Don't worry, she continued, smiling sweetly. I'm sure it'll all work out, though it does look a bit suspicious, doesn't it? Especially after that incident with the quarterly reports last month. Before I could respond, Liam arrived, right on schedule. Ivy's whole demeanor changed. softening into the perfect girlfriend. "Baby," she cooed, rushing to kiss him. "I've missed you so much." I watched Liam play his part, embracing her while his eyes remained cold. He'd spent the last few days discovering just how deep her manipulation went, including evidence that she'd sabotaged his previous relationship. "The ring's ready," he whispered to me when Ivy stepped away to berate a caterer. "Custom made to her exact specifications, just like she casually suggested." "You didn't have to actually buy it," I said. "Oh, but I did." His smile was grim. "She's been checking the credit card statements. Had to make everything look perfect, remember?" My phone buzzed. A text from Zane. "Video's done. You need to see this now." "Ivy?" I called out. "I need to check on the lighting company. Back in 30? "Fine, but hurry back. We need to discuss the timing of the speeches." I found Zane in his car around the corner, laptop open. "Watch this," he said, pressing play. The video started with Ivy's own surveillance footage, her speaking directly to her hidden cameras, rehearsing different versions of fake tears and emotional breakdowns. Then it cut to recordings of her threatening people, followed by the evidence of her financial manipulation, the sabotage, the carefully orchestrated schemes. "It's perfect," I breathed. "But how are we going to play it? She'll be watching everything." "Already handled." Zane pulled out a small device. "This will override any video input when activated. The AV team is on our side. Turns out Ivy threatened the manager's daughter last year." "Of course she did." I checked the time. "I should get back before she gets suspicious." "Wait." Zane grabbed my arm. "There's something else. Those missing files at your work? I traced the hack. She's planning to frame you for corporate espionage." My blood ran cold. "When?" "The day after the party. She's got everything set up. Fake emails, doctored security footage, even a paper trail leading to an offshore account in your name. She's making sure she has a backup plan." I realized. If something goes wrong at the party, she'll destroy you completely. Zane's face was serious. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" I thought about all the years of manipulation, the lives she'd ruined, the way she'd made me doubt my own sanity. "More than ever," I said. "But we need to move fast. Send everything about the corporate espionage setup to Dad. He knows people in cybersecurity who can help protect me." Back at the rooftop, Ivy was directing the placement of crystal champagne glasses with military precision. "Everything okay with the lighting company?" she asked, not looking up from her checklist. "All sorted," I lied. "Just like everything else will be." She finally looked at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or suspicion. "You know I love you, right?" she said softly. "Everything I do, it's because I want what's best for you, for all of us." I wondered how many times she'd rehearsed that line in front of her hidden cameras. "I know," I replied, matching her tone. "That's what sisters are for, right?" She hugged me, and I felt the USB drive in her pocket press against my hip, the one she'd found after we'd copied its contents. "2 more days," she whispered, and I couldn't tell if it was a promise or a threat. "2 more days," I agreed, touching my pendant. "Everything will be perfect." And for once, I wasn't lying. It would be perfect, just not in the way Ivy imagined. "You look stunning, darling," Mom gushed as Ivy twirled in her champagne-colored gown. The rooftop party was in full swing, fairy lights twinkling against the darkening sky. "Everything's perfect," Ivy beamed, checking her reflection in a nearby window. "Absolutely perfect." I caught Dad's eye across the room. He gave a subtle nod, confirmation that the cybersecurity team had blocked Ivy's attempt to frame me at work. One threat neutralized. 10 minutes until the speeches," Jayla announced, clipboard in hand. "Should I start gathering everyone?" "Yes, perfect timing." Ivy smoothed her dress. "Liam, baby, where are you?" Liam appeared, champagne in hand, the ring box hidden in his jacket pocket. "Right here, sweetheart." "Ladies and gentlemen," the event coordinator's voice rang out. "If you could all gather around the main area." I slipped away from the crowd, making my way to the AV booth where Zane waited. "Ready?" "Everything's set," he confirmed, showing me the video queued up on his laptop. "As soon as Liam takes a knee." "Lexus," Ivy's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "Where are you going? I need my maid of honor for the speeches." I turned, plastering on a smile. "Just checking on the sound system. Coming." The crowd arranged themselves in a semicircle, just as Ivy had planned. Mom was already dabbing at her eyes, while Dad stood stoically beside her, his hand in his pocket where I knew he held a copy of all the evidence we'd gathered. "Friends, family," Ivy began, her voice perfectly modulated for maximum emotional impact. "I can't tell you how much it means to have you all here tonight." I watched her perform, noting how each gesture, each tremor in her voice, matched exactly what I'd seen her rehearse on her own surveillance footage. "And especially my dear sister Lexus," she continued, reaching for my hand, "who's been such a help planning this perfect evening." That's when I saw it, the glint in her eye, the slight squeeze of my hand that was just a bit too tight. She knew. Somehow, she knew. "Actually," she said, her voice taking on an edge only I would recognize, "I'd like to share something special, a video I've prepared." My heart stopped. She was going to beat us to the punch. But before she could continue, Liam stepped forward. "If I could just interrupt for a moment." Ivy's face flickered with annoyance before smoothing into practiced delight. This wasn't part of her schedule. The proposal was supposed to come after her speech. "Ivy," Liam began, reaching for the ring box. "These past 2 years." I caught Zane's eye and gave a slight nod. Now or never. The screens around the rooftop flickered. Instead of the romantic montage Ivy had prepared, her own face appeared. Multiple versions of her practicing fake tears, rehearsing manipulative speeches. "What?" Ivy started, but her voice was drowned out by her own recorded words. Poor little Lexus, always so desperate for attention. Once I plant those files, her career will be over. The crowd gasped as scene after scene played out. Ivy threatening Liam, manipulating colleagues, plotting against family members. "Turn it off!" Ivy screamed, but her voice only added to the chaos as more revelations poured from the speakers. "Is this true?" Mom whispered, watching footage of Ivy gloating about ruining Uncle Mike's business. "Every word," Dad said grimly, pulling out his phone. "And there's more. The police are very interested in the corporate espionage attempt." Liam stepped back from Ivy, the ring box still in his hand. "I think I'll be keeping this," he said quietly. "You don't understand," Ivy said, her voice rising hysterically. "This is all fake. Lexus is trying to ruin me because she's jealous. She's always been jealous." "Really?" I pulled out my pendant. "Then I guess you won't mind explaining the cameras you planted in my house? The ones that streamed directly to your private server?" The color drained from Ivy's face as she recognized the pendant, identical to the ones she used for surveillance. "I can explain," she started, but people were already backing away from her, murmuring, checking their phones as years of evidence began circulating through their social networks. "Perfect timing," I said softly, echoing her favorite phrase. "Wouldn't you say?" Ivy lunged for me, all pretense of control finally shattering. "You little—" But Jayla and Liam caught her arms, holding her back as she screamed accusations and threats that only served to confirm everything the video had revealed. As security led her away, I heard her yell one last time, "I did it all for you, to protect you from yourself." "No," I called after her, "you did it for you, and now everyone knows exactly who you are." The perfect party was in shambles. But as I looked around at the shocked faces of our family and friends, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: freedom. The truth, as it turned out, was the perfect revenge. The rooftop fell into stunned silence as security escorted Ivy to the elevator. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears, her designer dress wrinkled from her struggle. Just before the doors closed, she locked eyes with me. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You're nothing without me. Nothing." The elevator dinged shut, and chaos erupted. "I knew something was wrong with those business tips," Uncle Mike said, his voice shaking. "My whole company, my employees, we almost lost everything." "The messages to my ex," Liam muttered, loosening his tie. "She edited them, made it look like I was having an affair." More revelations poured out as people began comparing stories. Years of manipulation unraveling in minutes. Mom collapsed into a chair, her face ashen. "How could I not have seen it? My own daughter." "She fooled all of us," Dad said, putting a hand on her shoulder. "But it's over now." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your email, now." "Zane," I called out, "can you pull up my work email?" He typed quickly, then swore under his breath. "She had a dead man's switch. Look." The screen showed dozens of emails, sent automatically to everyone at my company. Doctored photos, fake documents, all painting me as unstable and dangerous. "It's okay," Dad said quickly. "We've got it covered. The cybersecurity team is already sending out evidence that these were fabricated." "But the damage," I started. "We'll show exactly who Ivy is," Jayla cut in. "Think about it. She just proved everything we showed was true." Another buzz, this time from my boss. "Just got some interesting emails. Call me Monday. We need to talk about your sister's interference with the promotion review." "See?" Jayla smiled. Her backup plan just backfired. The party guests were starting to leave, murmuring in shocked clusters. Some stopped to hug me, others to share their own stories of Ivy's manipulation. "The police want statements," Zane said, checking his phone. "They're especially interested in the financial fraud angle with Liam's accounts." Liam pulled out the ring box and opened it. The diamond caught the fairy lights, sparkling innocently. $200,000, he said. "That's how much she'd siphoned from my accounts to pay for this. Said it was my idea, that I'd insisted on getting her the perfect ring." "What will you do with it?" I asked. "Sell it. Donate the money to a charity that helps victims of psychological abuse." He smiled grimly. "Seems fitting." Mom suddenly stood up. "The camera's in your house," she said, her voice breaking. "She watched you sleep? Her own sister?" "Mom, no." She straightened her spine. "No, I need to see everything. All of it. I need to understand what I allowed to happen." "I'll show you," Dad said. "But not tonight. Tonight, we all need to process this." As if on cue, my phone lit up with notifications. Ivy's social media was exploding as the video spread, her carefully curated image crumbling with each share and comment. "She's posting," Zane warned, showing me his screen. Ivy's latest Instagram post was a masterpiece of manipulation. A tearful selfie with a long caption about being betrayed by her jealous sister, about how everything she'd done was out of love and concern for her family. "Don't respond," Jayla advised. "Let her dig herself deeper." She was right. Within minutes, comments were flooding in from people sharing their own experiences with Ivy's manipulation. Her perfect facade was cracking, and each desperate attempt to save it only revealed more truth. "Ms. Peters?" A police officer stepped onto the rooftop. "We need to take your statement about the surveillance and financial fraud charges." As I followed the officer, Liam caught my arm. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. Thank you for being brave enough to help expose her." The officer led me to a quiet corner where I could see the whole rooftop, the scattered flowers, the abandoned champagne glasses, the remains of Ivy's perfect party. It looked like the aftermath of a storm, which in a way it was. "Start from the beginning," the officer said, opening her notebook. "Tell me everything." I touched the pendant around my neck, still recording, still gathering evidence, one last bit of insurance against whatever revenge Ivy might plan. "It started with my cat," I began. She noticed the hidden cameras before I did. Above us, the fairy lights continued to twinkle, illuminating the wreckage of Ivy's perfect world. Somewhere in the city, she was probably already plotting her comeback, her revenge. But this time, I wasn't afraid. The truth was out, and no amount of perfect planning could put her lies back together again. "She's requesting another family visit," Mom said, setting down her coffee cup. The morning sun streamed through my kitchen windows, catching shadow as she lounged on the windowsill. I told her no. "How are you holding up?" I asked, watching my mother's face carefully. The past few weeks had aged her, but there was a new strength there too. "Better, now that I understand." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "The therapist says I need to stop blaming myself for not seeing it sooner." My phone buzzed. Another email from the prosecutor's office. More victims had come forward, strengthening the case against Ivy. The charges now included fraud, stalking, blackmail, and corporate espionage. "Have you read her letter?" Mom asked. I shook my head. The thick envelope sat unopened on my counter. Ivy's perfect handwriting stark against the white paper. "Not interested in more manipulation." "Good." Mom's voice was firm. "The therapist says maintaining boundaries is crucial." The doorbell rang. Shadow's ears perked up, but she didn't hiss. A good sign. It was Jayla and Zane, right on time for our weekly breakfast. "Uncle Mike's business is recovering," Jayla announced as she set down a bag of fresh bagels. "The investors are back on board now that they know the truth about those anonymous tips." "And Liam?" I asked. "Doing well. The charity auction for the ring raised twice its value." Zane pulled out his laptop. "But that's not why we're here. Look at this." He showed us a series of emails he'd recovered, correspondence between Ivy and various people she'd manipulated over the years. Each message revealed another layer of her schemes. "She had backup plans for her backup plans," Jayla said, shaking her head. "But they're all falling apart now." My phone rang, Dad's ringtone. "Hey, what's up?" "Just left the police station," he said. "They found her storage unit. You need to see this." An hour later, we stood in a climate-controlled storage space, staring at walls lined with filing cabinets and computer servers. "Her command center," Zane whispered, running his hands over the equipment. "This is where she monitored everything, everyone." Detective Rivera moved through the space, taking photos. "This is extensive. She kept records of every manipulation, every scheme, like she was proud of it." "She was," I said, opening a drawer labeled Lexus Ongoing Projects. Inside were detailed plans for my life, career sabotage, relationship interference, even a schedule for when to trigger certain insecurities. "We found similar files on dozens of people," Rivera said. "She had plans within plans, contingencies for every scenario." She paused. "Except this one. She never planned for exposure. Back at my place, Mom picked up Ivy's unopened letter. "Maybe we should burn it," she suggested. "Make a ceremony of it." "Wait," Zane said, running a small device over the envelope. "Just checking." "Yeah, there's something electronic inside, some kind of recording device." We all stared at the letter. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to gather intelligence, still trying to maintain control. "That's it," Mom said, her voice breaking. "That's the last straw." She pulled out her phone and dialed a number we all recognized, Ivy's lawyer. "This is Sylvia. Tell my daughter I'm done. No more visits, no more letters, no more chances. She made her choices." The silence after she hung up felt like a weight lifting. "I'm proud of you, Mom," I said softly. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I'm proud of you too, for being strong enough to stand up to her, to protect others from what she did to you." Shadow jumped onto the table, purring loudly, making us all laugh. "Smart cat," Jayla said. She knew something was wrong from the start. "Speaking of starts," Zane added, "your promotion came through, the one Ivy tried to block." I nodded. "First day as department head tomorrow. No more looking over my shoulder, no more doubting myself." "To new beginnings," Mom said, raising her coffee cup, "and to the truth, no matter how hard it is to face." We all raised our cups, even as my phone buzzed with another update from the prosecutor's office. But for the first time, I didn't feel any anxiety about what Ivy might do next. Her perfect plans, her careful manipulations, her web of lies, it had all crumbled in the face of simple truth. Shadow stretched in the sunlight, completely at ease. No more hidden cameras, no more secrets, no more perfect lies. Just real life, with all its beautiful imperfections. And that was better than perfect. That was freedom. The call from my sister came on a perfect autumn morning while I was washing Gran's old Mustang in the driveway. That car meant everything to me, not just because it was a cherry red 1965 classic that turned heads wherever I went, but because it was the last gift Gran gave me before she passed. "Sylvia?" Callie's voice had that sugary sweet tone she only used when she wanted something. "You're my favorite big sister." "I'm your only sister," I replied, running the chamois over the hood one last time. "What's up?" "I've been thinking about what Gran would have wanted for us. You know, spreading our wings, living life to the fullest." I smiled, remembering Gran's actual words. "Look after your sister, Sylvia. She's got a heart of gold but the impulse control of a magpie in a jewelry store." That was Gran, always wrapping hard truths in humor. "Callie, just say what you want." "Well, I was wondering if maybe we could revisit the whole estate arrangement. I mean, I'm 28 now, not some kid who needs managing." I sighed, setting down my cleaning supplies. "We've been over this. Gran made me executor for a reason. The monthly allowance is more than fair. But Eli and I have been planning this amazing trip." "With what money?" I interrupted, already knowing where this was heading. "We've been saving. Well, sort of. Look, can't you just release some of my inheritance early? Please?" I leaned against the Mustang's warm hood. "That's not how this works. Gran structured it this way to protect you. And honestly, to protect the money from you." "You always act so superior just because Gran trusted you more." Callie's sweet tone vanished. "It's not fair that you get to control everything." "I'm not controlling everything. I'm following Gran's wishes. There's a difference." "Whatever. I have to go. Eli's waiting." The call ended abruptly, and I stood there in my driveway, water dripping from the chamois onto my sneakers. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Callie just called. Go easy on her?" I texted back, "Always do." That evening, I sat in Gran's study, now my home office, reviewing estate paperwork with Elisa, my lawyer and friend. The room still smelled like Gran's lavender hand cream. "Everything's in order," Elisa said, shuffling through documents. "The trust is secure, and you're managing it exactly as your grandmother intended." Sometimes I wonder if I'm being too strict with Callie. Elisa looked up sharply. "Your sister spent $3,000 on crystal healing sessions last month. Trust me, you're not too strict." I laughed, but it was hollow. "She means well, she's just impulsive, reckless, a human money shredder." I was going to say free-spirited. Elisa snorted. "You're too nice, Sylvia. That's why your grandmother chose you as executor. She knew you'd be fair but firm." My phone buzzed again. Another text from Callie. Love you, sis. Oh no, I muttered. She's using heart emojis. She's definitely up to something. Want my professional opinion? Elisa gathered her papers. Whatever she's planning, don't let her guilt you into anything. Your grandmother gave you power of attorney for good reason. I walked Elisa out, then spent some time in the garage with the Mustang. Gran taught me to drive in this car, taught me about responsibility and consequences in this car. A car like this, she'd said, is freedom and obligation all rolled into one beautiful package, just like family. Later that night, I called Dad. How's my favorite daughter? He answered. Don't let Callie hear you say that. Ha, you know I love you both equally, even if one of you gives me significantly fewer headaches. Did Callie tell you what she wanted the money for? Something about a trip. I tried not to get details. Plausible deniability. I ran my fingers along the spines of Gran's books. Am I doing the right thing, Dad? Being so strict with her money? Your grandmother knew what she was doing when she put you in charge. Trust her judgment, sweetheart. After we hung up, I sat in Gran's old armchair, watching darkness settle over the driveway, where the Mustang gleamed under the security light. Something about Callie's call bothered me, but I couldn't put my finger on what. I should have known then that the calm wouldn't last. Should have recognized the warning signs in those heart emojis and that syrupy voice. But sometimes the biggest storms come when the sky looks clearest. And my sister? She was about to prove just how accurate Gran's magpie comparison had been. I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into my garage the next morning. The empty space where the Mustang should have been seemed to mock me. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, dialing Callie's number. She answered on the first ring, island music playing in the background. Morning, sis. Where's my car? My voice came out eerily calm. Oh, yeah, about that, she giggled. Surprise, I sold it. The world tilted sideways. You what? Don't be mad. I got a really good price for it. This collector was super interested, and now Eli and I can afford our dream vacation. We're actually in Hawaii right now. The resort is amazing. I gripped the doorframe so hard my knuckles went white. You sold Gran's car, my car, without my permission. Well, technically it was still in Gran's name, and since I'm family, that's not how this works, Callie. That's theft. Oh, please don't be so dramatic. I heard Eli's voice in the background, followed by clinking glasses. You never even drove it anymore. I drove it yesterday. I was shouting now. I literally washed it yesterday. Look, what's done is done, and honestly, you should thank me. That car was just sitting there most of the time, and now it's helping me live my best life. Isn't that what Gran would have wanted? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Gran would have wanted you to stop acting like an entitled brat and grow up. Wow. Callie's voice went cold. You know what? You're just jealous because I'm actually doing something exciting with my life, while you sit around playing accountant with everyone else's money. Gran's dead, Sylvia. Stop using her as an excuse to control everyone. The line went dead. I stood there, staring at my phone until Dad's car pulled into the driveway. One look at my face and he knew. What happened? She sold the Mustang. The words felt like glass in my throat. To fund her Hawaiian vacation. Dad's face went from confused to shocked to angry in seconds. She what? How did she even? I'm calling her right now. Don't bother. I walked into the house, Dad following. She's too busy living her best life to care about little things like Grand Theft Auto. We'll call the police and have my sister arrested. I sank into Gran's armchair. That'll make Christmas interesting. Dad ran his hands through his hair. There has to be something we can do. My phone buzzed with a notification. Callie had posted on Instagram a photo of her and Eli on a beach, cocktails in hand. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to make your own magic happen. Blessed, no regrets, living my best life." Something inside me hardened. I stood up and grabbed my keys. "I need to see Elisa." "Your lawyer? What are you thinking?" I thought about Gran's words about consequences, about responsibility, about the power of attorney documents sitting in my desk drawer. I'm thinking it's time Callie learned what real control looks like. "Sylvia, don't worry, Dad. I'm not going to do anything illegal." I managed a small smile. "I'm just going to remind my dear sister, who actually holds the purse strings. Just don't do anything your grandmother wouldn't approve of." I touched the empty spot on my key ring where the Mustang's key used to be. Gran taught me that every action has consequences. Maybe it's time I taught that lesson to Callie. Another notification buzzed. A text from Callie. "The sunset here is gorgeous. You should really learn to live a little, sis." I grabbed my grandmother's power of attorney paperwork from my desk. Callie had always seen it as just another way I controlled her life. She'd never bothered to understand what it really meant, that I had access to every account, every asset, every penny of her inheritance. She'd sold my car to fund her paradise? Fine. Let's see how long paradise lasts when the money runs dry. As I drove to Elisa's office, my phone kept buzzing with more vacation photos from Callie. Each one strengthened my resolve. My sister thought she'd won, thought she'd finally outsmarted her controlling big sister. But she'd forgotten one crucial detail. Gran hadn't just made me executor of her estate. She'd given me complete control over all financial decisions until Callie turned 35, including the ability to freeze every account, cancel every card, and halt every transfer. My sister wanted to play games with family legacy? Fine. Game on. I pulled into Elisa's parking lot, a plan already forming. Callie was about to learn that her Hawaiian paradise came with a price, and the bill was due. She did what? Elisa nearly spilled her coffee across her desk. "Please tell me you're joking." "I wish." I spread the documents across her desk. "Can we freeze everything?" Elisa pulled up her computer files, fingers flying across the keyboard. "The power of attorney your grandmother left is comprehensive. We can lock down every account connected to the estate." She looked up at me. "Are you sure about this? Show me what we can do." For the next hour, Elisa walked me through our options. With each click and signature, I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. Credit cards, frozen. Investment accounts, frozen. Monthly allowance, suspended. Elisa checked off each item. The only thing she'll have access to is whatever cash she took with her. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram post from Callie. "Helicopter tour booked for tomorrow. Living like royalty." I turned the phone to show Elisa. Looks like she's spending that car money fast. Speaking of which, Elisa pulled out a fresh form. "I've already started the paperwork to report the car as stolen. The sale wasn't legal. She had no right to sell it. Can we track down the buyer?" "Already on it. But Sylvia..." Elisa leaned forward, her expression serious. "This is gonna get messy. Family feuds always do." "She crossed a line, Elisa. She needs to learn." My phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, Dad, have you talked to your sister?" He sounded worried. "Not since this morning. Why?" "She just called me in tears. Her credit card was declined at some fancy restaurant." I met Elisa's eyes. That was fast. "Really?" I kept my voice neutral. "How strange. Sylvia, what did you do?" "Nothing illegal. Nothing she didn't force my hand into doing." Dad sighed. "She's your sister." "Yeah, and that car was my inheritance. She can't just..." Another call beeped in. Callie. "I have to go, Dad. Callie's calling." I switched calls. "Yes? What the hell did you do? Callie was practically screaming. We're sitting here with a $400 dinner bill and none of our cards work. Oh no, I said flatly. That must be so embarrassing. Fix this, right now. Like you're going to fix selling my car without permission? That's different. You're literally stranding us here. Funny how actions have consequences, isn't it? I can't believe you're being such a... I heard Eli in the background. Babe, they're saying we need to pay, or they're calling the police. Sounds like you better figure something out, I said. Maybe sell something else that doesn't belong to you. You've lost your mind, Callie's voice cracked. What am I supposed to do? You could try growing up. I ended the call and looked at Elisa, who was trying not to smile. Too harsh? I asked. Personally, I think it's perfect. Professionally, I should advise you to show more restraint. My phone started buzzing with texts. Callie, this isn't funny. Callie, the hotel wants tomorrow's payment. Callie, answer your phone. Callie, you're ruining everything. Then came one from Eli. Hey, this is getting serious. Can we talk? I showed the messages to Elisa. Think they're sweating yet? I'd say so, but what's your end game here? I thought about Gran, about all her lessons on responsibility. She needs to understand that actions have consequences, real ones, not just me lecturing her. And the car? We'll find it. But first, I pulled up my banking app and made a quick transfer. I'm paying for their dinner. Elisa raised an eyebrow. What? I'm teaching her a lesson, not trying to get her arrested. Besides, I smiled as another notification came in. Callie posting a tearful selfie with the caption, "When your sister ruins your dream vacation." I think the message is getting through. You're nicer than I would be, Elisa said, gathering the papers. But what about tomorrow and the next day? Let her sweat it out tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk about conditions for unfreezing the accounts. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a message from Dad. The restaurant called, said someone paid their bill anonymously. Was that you? Maybe, I texted back. You're a good sister, he replied, even when you're being terrible. I looked at the stack of legal documents on Elisa's desk, thinking about Gran's lessons on tough love and responsibility. Callie wanted to act like money was no object? Fine. Let her spend one night learning just how wrong she was. Tomorrow would be soon enough to teach her about redemption. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls and a string of increasingly desperate texts from Callie. The last one, sent at 3 a.m. Hawaii time, simply read, "Please." I was pouring my coffee when Eli called. "Sylvia, we need to talk." His usual laid-back tone was gone. "The hotel's threatening to kick us out." That sounds stressful. Look, I get it. Callie messed up big time with the car, but this is getting scary. I took a sip of coffee. How much cash do you have left? Maybe $100. Everything else is locked up or declined. We can't even book flights home. Interesting. Kind of like how I couldn't drive my car this morning because someone sold it. That was Callie's idea, not mine. His voice cracked. I told her it was crazy, but you know how she gets when she wants something. And yet you're enjoying the benefits of my stolen car. Was enjoying? Trust me, there's no enjoying happening right now. Callie's been crying for hours. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. Despite everything, Callie had posted a photo of herself in a bikini by the pool. Haters trying to bring me down, but still living my best life. She seems fine to me, I said, showing the photo to Dad, who had just walked in. That's from yesterday, Eli sighed. Right now, she's curled up in bed having a meltdown. The helicopter tour company just charged a cancellation fee we can't pay. Dad mouthed, "Be nice at me." "Put her on the phone," I said. There was rustling, then Callie's voice, small and broken. "Sylvia? Having fun?" "Please, I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. Just make it stop. Like you can just make my car reappear? I'll fix it. I'll find the buyer. I'll figure something out. Actually, I said, Elisa's already tracking down the buyer. Turns out selling something you don't own is illegal. Who knew? Are you going to have me arrested? I haven't decided yet. Dad shot me a warning look. What do you want from me? Callie's voice cracked. To admit I was wrong? Fine, I was wrong. Is that what you want to hear? What I want is my car back. What I want is a sister who doesn't treat family legacy like her personal piggy bank. What I want, guests of room 418, please contact the front desk immediately, a voice announced in the background. Oh God, Callie whispered. They're going to kick us out. Sounds like a problem you created. Sylvia, please, we don't have anywhere to go. Dad grabbed my phone. Girls, enough. Callie, what you did was wrong, very wrong. But Sylvia, leaving your sister stranded isn't the answer. She stranded herself, I said, but my resolve was wavering. Both of you are acting like children. Your grandmother would be disappointed. That hit home, hard. Fine, I said, taking the phone back. Callie, here's the deal. I'll unfreeze one card, enough to get you home, but there are conditions. Anything, she sniffled. First, you're going to help Elisa track down that car buyer. Every call, every email, whatever it takes. Okay. Second, when you get back, we're having a serious discussion about your spending habits with a financial advisor present. But those are the terms. Take them or enjoy sleeping on the beach. There was a long pause. Fine, deal. One more thing, I added. Delete that last Instagram post. What? Why? Because pretending everything's fine when it isn't is part of your problem. I heard her tapping on her phone. Then, done. Happy? Getting there. Check your messages in 5 minutes. There will be enough on the card for flights home and basic expenses. Nothing else. Thank you, she whispered. After hanging up, I looked at Dad. Was that nice enough? He hugged me. Your grandmother would be proud. Well, mostly. I started the process of unfreezing one card with a limited balance, then checked Instagram one last time. Callie had posted a new photo. No filters, no makeup, just her tear-stained face. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from the people who love you most. Coming home to face the music. Reality. Sorry, sis. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. My phone buzzed with a text from Elisa. Found the car buyer. Ready to make some calls? I smiled, one battle at a time. Dad cornered me in Grand's study that evening while I was going through old papers. You did the right thing, he said, leaning against the door frame, but maybe not for the right reasons. What's that supposed to mean? He picked up a framed photo from Grand's desk, the 4 of us at her last birthday. Your grandmother was tough, but she was never cruel. Cruel? Callie sold my car. And you left her stranded in Hawaii. Only for a day, I muttered, shuffling through more papers. Sylvia. Dad's voice had that tone, the one that always made me feel like a kid again. What's this really about? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Elisa. The buyer's willing to meet, she said without preamble. Tomorrow morning. That's fast. Apparently, he's not thrilled about buying a car with questionable ownership, wants to resolve this quietly. Dad watched as I hung up. Want me to come with you? I'm not a child, Dad. No, but you are angry and hurt and... A loud thump from upstairs interrupted him. We both froze, listening. Did you hear that? I whispered. Another thump, followed by the distinct sound of drawers opening. We crept upstairs to find Grand's bedroom door ajar. Inside, papers and photos were scattered across the floor, and standing amid the chaos was Callie. What are you doing here? I demanded. You're supposed to be in Hawaii. She spun around, eyes red and puffy. We got an earlier flight. By breaking into the house? I still have a key. She held up a stack of papers. I was looking for something. In Gran's bedroom, at night? Her diary. Callie's voice cracked. The one she wrote the last year. I needed to understand. Dad stepped between us. Girls, understand what? I cut him off. That actions have consequences? That why she trusted you more than me? Callie threw the papers down. Why she made you executor? Why she gave you the car? Why she... Because I was responsible. Because I didn't sell family heirlooms for vacation money. No, you just used them to control everyone else. Enough! Dad's voice boomed through the room. Both of you, sit down now. We sat on Gran's bed, as far apart as possible. Your grandmother, Dad said quietly, loved you both equally, but differently, because you are different people. He picked up one of the scattered photos, Gran teaching me to drive the Mustang. Sylvia, she gave you responsibility because you showed you could handle it. But sometimes, he gave me a pointed look. Responsibility without compassion becomes control. But she, and Callie, he turned to my sister. She tried to protect you because she saw herself in you. The same free spirit, the same impulsiveness. She wanted you to learn the lessons it took her a lifetime to understand. Callie wiped her eyes. I don't know what I wanted. To prove you didn't need protecting, I suggested, softer now. She nodded. Dad picked up Gran's diary from the floor. Maybe instead of searching for answers in here, you two should talk to each other. I'm sorry, Callie whispered. About the car. About everything. Sometimes it feels like everyone's moving forward except me. And sometimes, I admitted, I forget that protecting you doesn't mean controlling you. Dad handed me the diary. Your grandmother wrote something for both of you in here. She made me promise to share it when you needed it most. He headed for the door. I think that's now. After he left, Callie and I sat in silence, Gran's diary between us. I really am sorry, she said finally. About the car. I know where the buyer lives. We can go tomorrow. I know. Elisa found him. Of course she did. Callie managed a small smile. Your lawyer friend is scary efficient. Want to come with me to meet him? She nodded. Will you read Gran's letter? I opened the diary to where a bookmark stuck out, Gran's familiar handwriting filling the page. To my girls, I read aloud, who are more alike than either will ever admit. Callie moved closer, and for the first time since this all began, I felt the anger start to fade. Maybe Dad was right. Maybe Gran's lessons weren't just about responsibility and consequences. Maybe they were about finding the balance between protecting someone and setting them free. I continued reading, Gran's words filling the room like a warm embrace, bridging the gap between sisters who'd forgotten how to understand each other. My dearest girls, I continued reading Gran's letter, my voice catching. By the time you read this, you'll have probably driven each other half crazy. Callie let out a wet laugh. She knew us too well. Sylvia, my practical one, I read. You've always carried the weight of responsibility like a shield. But shields can become walls if we're not careful. Sometimes protecting those we love means letting them fall. I felt Callie's eyes on me, but kept reading. And Callie, my free spirit, you shine so bright it sometimes blinds you to the shadows you cast. Freedom without wisdom is just another kind of prison. God, Callie whispered, how is she still lecturing us from beyond the grave? The Mustang, I continued, my hands shaking slightly, was never just a car. It was a lesson. Sylvia, I gave it to you because you needed to learn that some things are worth more than being right. And Callie, I didn't give it to you because you needed to learn that some things can't be bought. Well, Callie said quietly, I definitely learned that lesson now. I turned the page. I've watched you both grow into amazing women, but you're still learning how to be sisters. Sylvia, your sister needs your guidance, not your judgment. And Callie, your sister needs your joy, not your rebellion. Tears splashed onto the page. I wasn't sure if they were mine or Callie's. There's more, I said, wiping my eyes. In my desk drawer, there's a box with 2 keys, one for each of you, because sometimes the best way to learn to share is to have something worth sharing. Callie sat up straighter. 2 keys? We rushed downstairs to Gran's study. The drawer stuck, like always, but when I yanked it open, there was the box, exactly where she said it would be. Inside, 2 identical Mustang keys lay on faded velvet. She meant for us to share it, I said softly. All this time, and I sold it. Callie's face crumpled. I ruined everything. My phone buzzed. Elisa confirming tomorrow's meeting with the buyer. Not yet, you haven't. I handed her one of the keys. Come with me tomorrow. Help me get it back. And then what? And then we learned to share, like Gran wanted. Callie turned the key over in her hands. I don't deserve this. Probably not, I agreed. But Gran thought you would, eventually. That's good enough for me. She hugged me suddenly, fierce and tight. I'm so sorry, Sylvia. For everything. I know. I hugged her back. I'm sorry, too, for being more warden than sister sometimes. You were just doing what Gran asked. No, I pulled back to look at her. I was doing what was easy, not what was right. Controlling is easier than teaching. Callie picked up the diary again. P.S., she read, if you're reading this because one of you did something spectacularly stupid, remember, family isn't about keeping score. It's about keeping faith. We both laughed through our tears. She really did know us too well, I said. Think we can live up to what she wanted for us? We can try. I looked at the 2 keys. Starting tomorrow, together. Callie nodded, then frowned at her phone. Eli's been texting. He wants to know if I'm okay. Are you? Getting there. She typed a quick response. I told him I'm staying here tonight. That okay? Of course. I gestured to Gran's room. But maybe we should clean up the mess you made first. We spent the next hour putting Gran's room back in order, sharing memories as we sorted through photos and papers. Each one seemed to hold a lesson we'd missed before. Look at this one. Callie held up a photo of us as kids, both trying to sit in the Mustang's driver's seat at once. We were literally fighting over it even then. Some things never change, but some things do, she said quietly. Or they can, right? I thought about Gran's words about shields becoming walls, about freedom and wisdom. Yeah, I said, putting the photo back in its frame. They can. Tomorrow we'd face the buyer, try to get the Mustang back. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't fix everything. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like we were on the right path. Gran had given us more than just a car. She'd given us a chance to be better sisters, better people. We'd just been too busy fighting to see it, until now. The buyer's house was exactly what you'd expect from a classic car collector, a sprawling property with a massive garage that probably held more automotive history than most museums. Callie gripped my arm as we walked up the driveway. What if he won't sell it back? She whispered. Then we'll figure something else out, I said, squeezing her hand. Elisa met us at the door, all business in her suit. Ready? The buyer, Marcus, was a man in his 60s with oil-stained hands and sharp eyes. The Mustang sat behind him in his garage, looking somehow both at home and out of place among his other classics. Ladies, he nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. Quite a situation we have here. I'm so sorry, Callie blurted out. I had no right to sell you the car. He raised an eyebrow. No, you didn't. Could have saved us all some trouble if you'd thought of that earlier. Mr. Marcus, Elisa stepped forward. We're prepared to refund your purchase price, plus reasonable compensation for your time and trouble. Are you now? He walked over to the Mustang, running his hand along its hood. Thing is, I've grown rather attached to this beauty. Don't often see one in this condition, with this history. My heart sank, but Callie spoke up. That history is exactly why we need it back, she said. Our grandmother, Margaret? Marcus turned sharply. This was Margaret's car? We stared at him. You knew our grandmother? I asked. He laughed. Knew her? She beat me in 3 straight races back in '69. Taught me more about cars in one afternoon than I'd learned in years. His expression softened. She still had this beauty when she passed? She left it to me, I said. To us, actually. We just didn't know that part until recently. Marcus looked at Callie. And you sold your grandmother's car for, what was it again? A vacation, she said quietly. I know how that sounds. Sounds like you needed to learn a lesson. He smiled slightly. Margaret was big on those. Trust me, Callie said. Lesson learned. Marcus walked around the car slowly, thinking. Tell you what, I'll sell it back. At my purchase price, no markup. Really? Callie's face lit up. On one condition. He pointed at both of us. You two come back next month for my classic car rally. Margaret always said this car was meant to run, not sit. Deal, we said in unison. While Elisa handled the paperwork, Marcus showed us around his collection, telling stories about Gran that had us alternating between laughter and tears. She was something else, your grandmother, he said, watching as I handed Callie the keys. First time driving at home? Callie shook her head. Sylvia should— No, I interrupted. You drive. I'll navigate. The look on her face was worth every penny we'd spent getting the car back. As we pulled out of Marcus's driveway, Callie handling the Mustang like it was made of glass, my phone buzzed. A text from Eli. How'd it go? Your boyfriend's checking in, I told Callie. Ex-boyfriend, actually. She kept her eyes on the road. We talked this morning. He thought I was overreacting about the whole car thing. Said I should just move on and find another sugar daddy. Wow. Yeah? She smiled slightly. Turns out Gran was right about him, too. In her letter, that part about being blinded by shininess. You okay? Getting there. She patted the steering wheel. This helps. We drove in comfortable silence until she spoke again. I've been thinking about what Gran wrote, about sharing and learning and stuff. Yeah? Maybe I could help you with the estate management, learn how it all works, not taking over or anything, just understanding it better. I smiled. I'd like that. And maybe I could be a little less rigid about the allowance thing. Really? Within reason. No more selling family heirlooms for vacations. She laughed. Deal. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Everything okay? I took a photo of Callie behind the wheel, grinning like a kid on Christmas, and sent it to him. Better than okay, I texted back. As we cruised home, the Mustang's engine purring beneath us, I thought about Gran's letter, about shields and walls, freedom and wisdom, about 2 sisters who needed to fall apart to come back together stronger. Hey, Callie said suddenly, race you to Dad's? In this car? No way. Come on, live a little. She grinned. Gran would want us to. I thought about Marcus's stories, about young Gran racing down empty streets. Okay, I said, but I'm driving back. Callie's laugh echoed through the car as she accelerated, and for the first time in years, I felt like we were finally on the same road. The morning of Marcus's classic car rally dawned bright and clear. I found Callie already in the garage, polishing the Mustang's hood to a mirror shine. "You're up early," I said, handing her a coffee. "Couldn't sleep. Keep thinking about what Gran would say if she could see us today." "Probably something wise and vaguely threatening," I laughed. Dad pulled into the driveway, camera in hand. "My girls and their car. Margaret would be proud." "Girls and their shared car," Callie corrected, emphasizing the word shared. "Though Sylvia does most of the driving since I'm busy with estate management training." "Speaking of which," I pulled an envelope from my pocket. "I have something for you." Inside was a printed statement showing Callie's new monthly allowance, significantly higher than before. "But," she stared at the number, "I thought we agreed." "You've earned it. 3 months of perfect attendance at financial planning meetings, helping with estate paperwork, even setting up that investment portfolio. Under your supervision," she added quickly. "Under my guidance," I corrected. "There's a difference." Dad snapped a photo of us hugging over the hood of the Mustang. "Come on," he said. "You'll be late for the rally." The drive to Marcus's place was everything Gran would have wanted. 2 sisters, 1 classic car, and an open road. Callie handled navigation while I drove, just like we'd been practicing. Marcus met us at the entrance, beaming. "Margaret's girls and Margaret's car." He peered inside. "You've kept her in perfect condition." "We take turns," Callie explained. "Sylvia handles maintenance. I handle cleaning. We split driving duties." "And how's that working out?" I smiled. "Better than expected." "Much better," Callie agreed. As we lined up for the rally's start, Marcus handed us a folded note. "Found this in some old papers. Think Margaret would want you to have it." It was a faded photo of Gran in the Mustang, young and fierce behind the wheel. On the back she'd written, "Some roads are better traveled together." "Ready?" I asked Callie, starting the engine. "Actually." She got out and walked around to my door. "Your turn to navigate. I want to drive." "You sure? You've been practicing for this." "Gran said some roads are better traveled together." She held out her hand. "I want to show you what I've learned." We switched seats, and as Callie adjusted the mirrors, I saw Dad in the crowd, filming everything. "Hey," I said softly, "remember when you said I was just jealous because you were living your best life?" She winced. "I was awful." "No, you were right. Just not the way you thought. I was jealous of your freedom, your spontaneity. I was so busy being responsible that I forgot how to be free." "And I was so busy being free that I forgot how to be responsible." She gripped the steering wheel. "But now we're both learning." The starting flag dropped. Callie handled the Mustang perfectly, taking each turn exactly as we'd practiced. I called out directions, trusting her completely for the first time. We didn't win the rally, didn't even come close. But crossing the finish line, Callie grinning like mad and me cheering beside her, felt better than any victory. Marcus met us at the end, laughing. "Margaret would have loved that. Both of you, working together, trusting each other." That's what she wanted all along, I realized. Not for me to control Callie or for Callie to rebel against me. "She wanted us to find our balance," Callie finished. Dad joined us, showing off the photos he'd taken. In every single one, we were smiling, laughing, looking like sisters instead of rivals. "One last surprise," Marcus said, handing us each a small trophy. "Not for winning the race, for best exemplifying the spirit of classic car culture, sharing the joy across generations." Later, as we drove home with our trophies on the dashboard, Callie said, "You know what's weird? I don't even miss Hawaii anymore." "No, this is better. Being here, learning all this, sharing the car. It's like getting to know Gran all over again, through you." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "Through us." The Mustang's engine hummed beneath us. a sound that had become less about power and more about connection, not just to Gran, but to each other. "So," Callie said as we pulled into our driveway, "same time next rally?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw what Gran must have seen all along. Not just the impulsive free spirit or the responsible executor, but something better. Two parts of the same whole. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. "Partner."